Welcome to the Once Upon an Island podcast, number 2 on the charts, number 1 in your hearts. I am your host, Wesley. And of course, I am joined by my cheerful co-host,
Rebekah.
And today we're talking about Survivor 47, episode 12. And let me tell you, I was so confused, Rebekah, with the ads on TV this week saying, next week's the finale. And I'm like, it is?
Yeah. It's what was the term we coined, the marketing finale?
Yeah. That's what you said. You said it's like the marketing merge. I'm like, yeah, it's a marketing finale.
Yeah.
It really
That's what it is.
There's no other reason to call next week part 1 of the finale. What if
part 1 of the finale is crazy?
They should start doing
funny.
part 1 of the merge, because that's really what it is. Like the merge is like 3 weeks now with the way they drag it out. Also, let's just do that. Let's do part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4 of the premiere, which is really just the first 4 episodes.
This is like, you remember when Twilight split the last book into 2 movies, and then after that, every YA movie franchise was like, let's do that.
Did Twilight do it first, or did Harry Potter do it first?
I believe it was Twilight first, but someone can fact check me on that. But I believe Twilight was the first.
Well, somebody did it first, and then everybody else decided to copy and realized, not everybody can do this. It doesn't work for everybody.
And then Divergent never got to make the last movie, so that was, anyway. Rabbit Trail number 1, out of the way. There you go.
Divergent movie number 1, okay. 2, 3, what the heck?
Yep.
It just got worse.
4 doesn't exist.
4 literally does not exist.
Which sucks, because the best part of that book series, spoilers, I guess, the best part of that book series is the ending of the last book. I'm not going to say what it is, but just like, it's crazy that never made it to the screen.
I guess it's time to explain what happened last week on the podcast. I thought I explained it last week, but I saw a lot of confusion. I guess I saw a lot of people complaining about how off the deep end I went in week 10's podcasts. There's a lot of complaining in the comments about how far off the deep end I went. I was like, and so I contemplated all week. I'm like, all right, I'm obviously need to talk less about my deep end strategies. Like I got that. What's what the feedback was. But I was like, is there a funny way of doing this? So I guess for like 6 days, I thought, what's a funny way to do this? And what everyone else heard was me being normal in week 10, and then me going super sarcastic, making jokes. By the way, I thought last week was some of our funniest jokes ever on the podcast history. Again, like Back to the Future, your kids are going to love it. But anyways, I thought last week was one of our funniest podcasts, but no, there's a lot of people saying it wasn't. So I hear you again.
Yes, we'll put in extra rabbit trails this week. How about that?
Marketing finale is next week. Should be I think it's a 2-hour episode. I haven't checked the CBS TV schedule, but I think it's 2 hours next week and the 2 hours the week after. So
yeah, I think they said it was 2 hours in the little teaser at the end of the episode. I could be wrong, but
next week's going to be a fun episode based on what happened tonight with this split vote and everything.
Tonight was such a fun episode. I really enjoyed this episode, even though I was bummed with who went home. But yeah, I'm excited for the end of the season. It's going to be really good.
When everyone was plotting against Rachel, I was like, yes. And it's not because I have anything against Rachel. I was just thinking, yes, upset her winner picks, right? Upset what we all think is going to happen. Please. I was wanting that to happen. If Rachel went tonight, that would have been 10 out of 10 surprise city. Like amazing. I wouldn't have been as surprised by anything. I mean, don't get me wrong, with Sierra went, I was surprised, but it wasn't like 10 out of 10 surprise. It would have been 10 out of 10 surprise if Rachel went tonight.
If Rachel went tonight, I don't know what would have happened to my winner rankings. Like I probably would have put Jeff in first place, because like that would have been just crazy. I don't know.
Tomorrow I will be obviously doing our winner analysis podcast with Mary, but I'll also be recording a podcast with Carson and I believe Carolyn over on Let's Get Tribal on YouTube. Obviously Carson, Carolyn from 44. So if there are any questions you want me to ask, you gotta post them fast, because I'm recording in the morning tomorrow. So if you're on Patreon, obviously you got a massive heads up. I posted about the other day on Patreon. Got questions from them. But anyways, we are here to talk about episode 12, but there's just a lot to talk about. So anyways, so don't worry, somebody will complain. All right, so we start the episode off, and Sue says, it was so annoying having Kyle around here. Ugh, yes. Kyle, what a jerk.
He was the worst.
Remember when he called me Tweedledee and Tweedledum?
Remember that he has a family and he was in foster care as a kid?
What
and you just made everything about him. Ew.
I hate how poor Kyle
I bet he's
is.
never even been in an airplane before. Literally had to get in one to go to Fiji.
No. He swam to Fiji because he's poor.
Oh, yeah.
He swam there. freaking hate Kyle.
Swimming is cheaper, so that makes sense.
I know people have talked about it, but like this week I was like, I get that Sue is putting stuff on her face to contour her face, do makeup supposedly.
Mm-hmm.
But it really is to a point where I'm like, is anybody telling her that it doesn't look like makeup? It looks like she's just putting dirt on her face.
And see, I was also wondering, because we did see at one point in this episode that Sue was like, I don't know, crawling around on the ground, like looking for an idol or something. And like Caroline was like, yeah, she's just, she's out there like getting her hands dirty, like looking for this idol or whatever. And so I'm wondering, I think some of it might be from that. Like some of it I do think is
she's at tribal looking super dirty, dude.
Yeah, no, that's fair. But then there was also the moment where she was like telling Caroline that Caroline had like some dirt on her face, and I was like, yeah, I had similar thoughts. I was like, why isn't Caroline telling her that there's dirt on her face?
The pot calling the kettle black. Like, yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
What about you, bro?
Right.
But Caroline's too nice. Too nice to say anything like that.
Yeah. Yeah, she would never say anything like that to her mom, so.
And she didn't even vote out her own mom. Oh, the opportunities.
No. And her mom didn't vote her out either. We had an opportunity for the reverse.
Sam says he is over the big targets being picked off for Rebekah. And reality, I have a lot of thoughts, by the way, on the move that happened tonight. And I want to go in order because there are things that happened before Operation Italy. So Sam says he's over the big targets being picked off. We're setting up what's going to happen. We think that Caroline and Sue are close. Sorry, Caroline and Sue are close, like mother and daughter. Again, here's the relationship. Mm-hmm. Here's who you should care about. If Sue were to make the final three, would she get a vote from Caroline? Probably. That's how I feel about Sam, by the way. If he reaches final three, he gets a vote from Genevieve. Teeny reaches the final three. Mm-hmm. Who's Teeny get a vote from? I don't know.
Yeah.
I
don't know.
We've talked about our deep end theories on why we think Teeny's top 4, but is Teeny 2 or 3? I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I did narrow. All right. So anyways, they're close. Genevieve apologized to Andy for discounting his game. Probably a good move by Genevieve. I mean, at the moment in the episode, obviously
this was a great move.
It's a good move, like in general. And she talked about how she's trying to it was a mistake not to make relationships. So like this, I wonder if this part of kickstarting Operation Italy, the show's presenting it like it is. So I guess you could say it is. And it definitely doesn't hurt because she's being genuine. She's not just apologizing for apologizing's sake. She's like, oh, I'm sorry. Like when you tell your kid to say sorry to them. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think this was very good timing because she didn't. A lot of times, we'll see people like the day of tribal going up to people and being like, oh man, like I regret that, whatever, I messed with our relationship. But it's like, it always feels a little bit manipulative, even if it's not, because of the timing. If it happens right before tribal and it's like, hey, I want you to vote with me, and also I'm sorry. Like if there's any element of that, it always comes off as disingenuous. But yeah, I think the reason that this felt so genuine is because she did it before even the like any reward challenge or anything. So it was not like close to a tribal. So I thought it was a very good move. Was it? I would have preferred to maybe see her do something like this much earlier in the game, but it still was a good move.
We'll talk a lot about timing on moves tonight. Genevieve, sure. Mm-hmm. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's never too late to apologize when you're in the wrong, but especially in Survivor, like it's never too late. It's like, it's better late than never. You know what I mean? Just that's like a life lesson and a lesson on Survivor. So just, I guess, in everything, because you never know what will happen. So anyways, Rebekah's like, that's some deep advice. Genevieve apologized to Anna for discounting his game. She wants to rehabilitate her image and wants to become a house cat who's fixed, basically. She can't hurt you. She just purrs. And she wants to be pet. And she wants to sit on your lap. And then when you're working on your computer, she wants to come over and jump on your computer keyboard. And you're like, what the heck, cat? But I love you so much. You're so freaking cute. That's what Genevieve wants to be.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought it was interesting that she said something to the effect of like, oh, I've been branded as someone who doesn't care about people and who's just strategic, which is like funny because like she's been very open about that's just the way that she's playing. I just thought it was interesting. She's like, oh, I've been branded this way. It's like, you did that. And I think she like acknowledged that based on later confessionals, but I just thought that phrasing was kind of funny.
If I saw Genevieve as a house cat, I'd be like, what about Genevieve every day of my life?
Yeah.
Walk around my house, be like, what about Genevieve? To Mary, it's what I'd say to Mary. Mary would be like, Yes, I know, Genevieve. Anyways, all right. So
yeah, I did think I thought of you this episode because there were a few moments where Genevieve was like, just contemplating the way that she's played this game and like how she really should be connecting with people even though she hasn't. And like it was very much the vibe of there's some week you said, everyone always asks what about Genevieve,
that was last week.
No one ever. Was it last week?
Yeah, last week during one of our funniest podcasts of all time, in my opinion.
That was literally the vibe that she was giving. Like no one ever asks how is Genevieve,
How about Genevieve?
Just so
Why
funny.
about Genevieve? When about Genevieve? What about Genevieve? Who about Genevieve? No one ever asks these questions.
When about Genevieve?
When about Genevieve? Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
That was yes. That's what I said. We had some all-time jokes last week. It just went. Kids are going to love it. All right. Genevieve says Rachel is the biggest target on the board. She said this was like, thank you. Somebody needed to say it. I'm glad it's been acknowledged. And then tells this to Teeny, who takes offense. Am I reading that wrong?
Teeny's reaction here, I thought was really weird. I don't know if it was in the editing or if it's just that like, I don't know, because Teeny and Genevieve have been through a lot this season, and I know Teeny's been really hurt by a lot of that. So, like, I think it wasn't just what was said in this conversation.
Sure.
But when they sat down on the beach, I was like, oh, cool. Like, they're maybe going to talk. They're going to reconnect, if not reconcile. And then, Genevieve, all she said was that if Rachel and Teeny were at the end, it's not a slam dunk for Teeny. She said that. She didn't say to Teeny, she didn't say you're not going to win. She said it's not a slam dunk. And Teeny was like, that sounds like a threat. That's so offensive. Like,
it should be a slam dunk that I'm going to clean sweep the jury.
Yeah, literally.
Like, all right, Teeny.
Yeah. I definitely feel like Teeny was different in this episode. And I don't know if it's an editing thing. I don't know if there's like other irritations going on or if it's just the stress of the end game. But yeah, there were a few things that's like, man, Teeny is like, I don't think she's as aware of like where the jury is. And like, she just seems like kind of overly confident, like also just very offended about Sam not choosing her. And,
maybe the edit was accurate because the edit's been like setting up Teeny as like this big important character who we should be like even only person currently with a backstory with the pictures. By the way, I thought we were going to get some during the letters from home, but we didn't. Only person with like they want us to like feel for Teeny, root for Teeny, and it's like almost like they're gaslighting us the way Teeny's gaslit herself. Yeah.
So
I feel gaslit. Like, why am I supposed to be rooting for, like we're now 12 weeks into a 14-week season, and I'm still wondering what has Teeny done? When is Teeny going to do anything? What was all the hype building up for? If Teeny wins this season, why?
Yeah.
What did Teeny do?
I will say we did get some pretty good facial expressions in Tribal. Got some good side eyes tonight.
Even Natalie White of Samoa, who people constantly dunk on and say, no, Russell should have won. Even Natalie made more moves at this point than Teeny has. And Natalie got like 15 confessionals the whole season. So I am just so confused. I'm not mad at Teeny, by the way. It's not Teeny's fault that we've been gaslit. I'm just in general confused. Why? But why? Why about Genevieve? That's my question. It doesn't make any sense. And so I think Teeny's emotional reaction to what Genevieve said to her is like fine. Like I'd probably feel the same way if I thought I was a bigger target or whatever, bigger threat. However, her reaction to Genevieve should not be what it was. That's really gameplay wise a bad move, but it makes for better TV, but it's bad gameplay. Yeah, go ahead, Rebekah.
Definitely. Well, I was just going to say, like, even if, like, I like that this season the edit has thrown some red herrings our way, and I feel like the Teeny thing towards the beginning might have been one of those, because, yeah, you're right, like, just comparing Teeny pre-merge to Teeny post-merge is almost like a different person, and at this point, I do feel like, yeah, if Teeny wins, it's, like, disappointing, again, not because I have anything against Teeny, but just because, like, yeah, like you said, what moves has she really done? So, yeah, I'm not mad about there being red herrings in the edit, though, I guess is my point. And I think that might be what happened here. So I guess we'll see.
Off topic for half a second. Somebody in the
oh my goodness.
I know. So, well, it's still about Survivor. Somebody asked this week, we haven't got to questions from people, but one of them was, can we submit trivia questions to Rebekah to ask Wesley? Rebekah, can people do that? And if they can, where can they do that at? I assume the answer is yes.
I don't know. I'll have to figure out a way. Maybe I'll set up an email or something that people can send stuff to.
You need to make like a Once Upon an Island Rebekah email or something.
Yeah, I'll do that. I'll set that up and then give it out next week. I mean, that only gives a week for the finale, but yes,
people can give me questions to hit me with a gauntlet of questions in the finale. See how many I can actually get.
Yes.
You know they're going to pull up some obscure Survivor trivia, but I need to let everyone know that your questions need to be answered on the Survivor Wiki. You cannot pull out questions.
It can't just be made up.
Yes.
It has to, have a link or something for me.
If it's not on the Survivor Wiki, it does not count. Let's put it that way. It has to be on the Wiki. So anyways.
Yeah.
That's the rule Rebekah and I follow. So you have to follow the same rule if you're going to do it. All right. So we move on to the reward challenge. Rebekah, what was this reward? Why was this reward?
Yes.
How was this reward challenge?
All right. So this reward challenge was basically comprised of like racing through some obstacles. The first one, I thought this was interesting. They had to remove sandbags from a vault, like a thing that they had to jump over. And like some of the sandbags were like tied on. So that was fun. So they had to jump over that and then go under, untie a ball, retrieve a ball from a net tunnel. That was the first thing. And then untie a second ball and then go under a rope crawl. And then they had to throw those balls and land one on two separate levels of a perch. And man, Sam just like ripped through this rope crawl. Like that was actually so impressive. Because Rachel was doing like a really good job throughout the challenge and was in first place for a long time. And then she had a good strategy at the end too, because when she was trying to land them on the pole thing, she went for the highest one first and then the shorter one. And so I thought that she was going to win, but Sam, he really, just blazed through that challenge and ended up winning. And he did.
And this is, by the way, equivalent. I mean, it's like the same exact location, everything. This is the equivalent to the challenge Q1 and 46 for Applebee's. Unfortunately, no Applebee's sponsorship this season. It's the same exact location, same place where Liz blew up. I mean, I've watched that scene enough to like recognize exactly where they were when it happened. This is the same exact place. In fact, Sam throwing those bags up onto those, whatever you want to call them, platforms, is just a variation of what Q did in 46, which was throwing a sandbag. So when people say the new era sure feels like a lot of things are the same, it's because not only are a lot of things the same, but they're just doing them in the same locations as well. So you're like, hey, I've seen this one before, you know?
Yeah.
I recognize this one.
Imagine if they did get another Applebee's sponsorship here and they announce it and Liz just pops out of the bushes. She's like just screaming like, you better take me on this reward. That's my impression of Liz, by the way.
Big mistake. This was a big missed opportunity by Applebee's, in my opinion, which, by the way, I know is financially struggling from what I've read in the news, at least.
Yeah.
So big missed opportunity because this episode, while called Operation Italy, in theory could have been called Operation Applebee's.
Oh my goodness.
Right? They named their operation after the food that they ate. Well, if it was Applebee's, it would have had to have been Operation Applebee's.
Yeah. Or if you wanted to stick with the Italian theme, maybe Olive Garden. Hello?
Hey, Olive Garden. Yes, you are still in business.
Yeah.
If you're listening to this, the number 2 podcast about Survivor, which I'm sure Olive Garden execs are definitely listening to.
Olive Garden TM is listening to our podcast now.
We listen to number 1 and number 2 podcasts about Survivor, of all things, in our free time. So in case you are, you could have been Operation Olive Garden.
When we say Olive Garden, I do imagine it's like maybe not every employee, but it's definitely like a Zoom like conference call. It's like a big meeting with like all the head honchos at Olive Garden. And they're like, let's listen to this podcast about Survivor.
What a waste of time.
Anyway, that's a rabbit trail.
Like on company time. What a waste of time that would be. Dude, if I went to any company and they're like, we're going to sit here and listen to the Survivor. I don't care what show. Big Brother, so I don't care what show. They were
Imagine
this
it was
podcast
a show
about
you could not care less about.
It's
like
never
Love
even
Island,
seen,
or it's like Yeah.
For an hour and a half to up to 2 hours. And during the podcast, not only do they rabbit trail, they talk about deep end theories. And I'm like, I've never even watched this show. What are they talking about?
We're like, what are we talking about? Yeah, which show is this?
and then for like 30 seconds, they recommend the restaurant that I work at be the sponsor. And I'm like, that's why we listen to this whole thing.
You know what? Sold. We'll sponsor them.
I need to get a new job. That's what I would
but then they
saying.
get their wires crossed and they just sponsor the podcast instead of sponsoring Survivor.
If you ever hear a podcast sponsored by Olive Garden, now you know how it happened.
Yeah, this was the inception.
I mean, we don't do sponsorships here because pretty much every sponsorship I've ever talked to has been like crap. I wouldn't want, to be frank.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
if Olive Garden want to sponsor,
I mean,
I'll eat it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I'll eat it.
Absolutely. Yeah,
that's not crap, and I want it. So there you go. All right, that's about the best recommendation I can give without being sponsored. Okay, so Sam Wins Reward takes Andy, and I told Mary, I'm like, that makes sense because he's gonna want to flip Andy. I was already where Sam was, but then he picks Genevieve, and I was like, what about Genevieve?
Yeah.
Why Genevieve? I was truly thinking when Teeny goes back to camp, gets super upset, which we'll talk about here in a second. I was thinking like Teeny was. I'm like, I'm surprised he didn't try to pull somebody else to.
Yeah,
because he wanted
at the
to flip
very
two
least
people,
to be like, leave Genevieve at camp so that she can prevent strategy talk or like make it harder.
Sam stumbled into Operation Italy. Sam did not cause Operation Italy. No, Andy did. It was all Andy. I mean, their two had a big part, but Andy spearheaded this. It's a good thing he brought Andy on Reward, but I'm wondering what if Sam had brought, let's say, Andy and Caroline, Andy and Teeny, Andy and Sue. You know, would Andy have even proposed Operation Italy? No.
Right. Yeah, probably not. Yeah. I don't know. It's interesting because like I get that Sam is in kind of a tough spot. Like he doesn't have a lot of options. But yeah, I do feel like he hasn't done a ton in the last like couple 3 weeks. Really since Sierra left, honestly. Which again, it's tough. He doesn't have a lot of options, but I did think that this was, like you said, it was a missed opportunity for sure. Like he could have done something here, and I don't know.
Okay, so I guess let's talk about Operation Italy.
Yes.
Short term. So short term, exciting episode, fun episode. People wanting to know why I don't sound more excited. It's because while it was happening, I was thinking through the ramifications of what's happening.
Same.
I was like, okay, sure, this is exciting for like this episode, and like as a watcher of TV, sure. But as I'm sitting here thinking about winner analysis and who's going to win and how are you going to win, all I could think of was, yes, Andy at the moment, theoretically, is number 5 in his alliance. Is this the right move? Is this the way to do it? We're talking about from Andy's perspective. Sam and Genevieve needed a move to happen. It didn't matter what the move was. This is the right move for them. End of story, right? End of story. Like, unless you want to argue differently, do you?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I do think that there's like a big part of this is like, okay, this was a great move. What's the next move?
Right.
And I think
Sam and Genevieve are on borrowed time though. So next move is not as 100%. Big of a question at the moment because they don't even have a move, let alone thinking through their next move, like just any move.
I mean, the only thing, like they were grasping at straws this week, but next week it's going to be even more grasping at straws because they did the whole like, Sam was like, oh, you should play the idol at Tribal. He's like, you should play it. And Genevieve's like, I'll just let the result be what it is. And like, maybe there's something there, but like realistically, I feel like now everyone knows the idol's fake.
Well, I mean, her just not playing an idol period means people know.
She doesn't have anything.
Right. It didn't matter how much they played it up. Like, so anyways, all right. So basically what I'm saying is Sam and Genevieve, 10 out of 10, like they did the right move. They did nothing wrong from what we saw. Like this was the right move. They both survived the week and the heat is not going to be on them because of the move. It's all on Andy. So let's talk about this from Andy's point of view. What's Andy's perspective? Now, as I've talked about adamantly on the podcast, especially post Sierra, is that Andy cannot be trusted. He is not loyal to any alliance ever. And people have dogged on me. Some agreed. I've seen some agreed, but mostly people dogging and saying, Andy, Andy can win. Andy this, Andy. Like, no, Andy can't win. Andy constantly flips on everybody he's aligned with. Every chance
literally
he gets.
At Tribal, Gabe, after Caroline gets voted out, Gabe goes, Andy flipped again. Yeah. Like, they all know that Andy is just flipping and flopping.
You can't trust Andy, and it's not in like a fun Tony way. It's Andy. It's not Tony Vlachos, like GOAT of Survivor. No, it is Andy. It's just Andy. And when it's just Andy, it's like he's burned all of us. He didn't stay loyal to anybody. At least Tony stayed loyal to some people. For comparison, Andy, who is Andy loyal to? He's sitting there, I'm loyal to the soil with Kyle. And then what does he do? Votes out Kyle last week, right? I know, he proposed an idea, but really Operation Italy would have been a better option for him last week. So here's the issue they've run into.
Yeah.
Theoretically, let's say Andy decides for once to actually stay loyal. For once. Let's say that actually happens. I don't know. Let's say he actually stays loyal to Genevieve and Sam. There's a 3-3 tie next week. Rachel has an idol. And their target right now is Rachel. Rachel loses immunity, plays her idol. All of a sudden, that threesome's broken up. Their best hope at the moment is to have a tie vote, because I don't think any more idols are coming into play. I could be wrong, but I don't think any more idols are coming into play to enter the game. It's final 6. Andy just shot his chances of winning, in my opinion. Like, just shot them. Like, they're done. Who's going to vote for him? He is flipped on everybody. The entire jury does not like Andy. He has burned almost all of them, starting with Sierra. And people got like, oh, just because Sierra's your winner pick. Like, no, man, Andy's just, he's not going to win the game. He cannot win the game playing this way.
I mean, to some extent, I almost feel like Andy burned that bridge on day 3 or whatever that was, where he like had the freak out at the challenge.
He burned John, and John was like, burned John for no reason.
John was like, I've known you for 2 days or whatever.
He was already burning John. They hadn't gone tri-way. He's already burning John. Like, that's been Andy all game. By the way, fun for TV, Griff TV, but when we're talking about winner analysis and who's going to win, this is why. And he's been like this all 21, 22 days, whatever how many days it's been now. Andy can't win. He's bottom of the rankings. And if anyone wants to argue differently, you're crazy. Andy cannot win. There's no way. Andy can win. If Andy wins, I will eat a rock, as Francesca said.
Eat a rock.
That's what she said.
Yeah, no, that's very funny. Yeah, I think, like, to your point about timing, I do think that Sam and Genevieve did a lot of really good things this week. I do think that one thing they could have done, and this would have been tough and more risky, and what they were doing was already pretty risky, but I think that they needed to try and crack the 4 alliance already. So I don't know if that's going after Caroline or Sue or Teeny. Probably not going after Rachel, but just going after one of those 3 and saying like, hey, yeah, like you're in this 4-person alliance, but you're number 4. And like trying to get that person to flip with them, and then, you know, saying like, oh yeah, I don't know how you play that, because like, yeah, I guess you've then got 4 people. But I guess my point is like, yeah, it's because all their moves, all the shenanigans this week got them through this week. But like you said, next week, the best they can hope for is a tie.
Right.
I mean, really, if they had done it last week, even with Kyle,
yes,
you know,
they would have been final 4, right?
Yes, right there. And I do think like some of that did fall on Andy, because Andy wasn't ready to, you know, work with Kyle last week for whatever reason. But anyway, yeah. So I don't know. I think that great move, great TV. Really enjoyed this episode as a viewer.
Good job by the editors, by the way. Great job of the editors. They made it fun. They like put their all into it. You know, good.
Yeah. But there were so many fun like montages, like when they were doing the Operation Italy or whatever, like the spy movie music and transitions and all that. It was so fun.
It reminds me of playing with the boys, like when they did that montage in 45.
Oh yes,
Rebecca's like, why do I know this song?
That.
Playing with the boys. This is like they put that kind of effort into this, and so all of my criticism is only on Andy. To be clear, I do not blame anybody else. I don't blame production. By the way, notice how fun the show could be when the show just lets them play the game and doesn't interfere. Like all you have to do is just provide opportunity. You do not need to put stuff into the game. There didn't need to be a block vote. There didn't need to be an idol. Nothing. They made a fake idol, right? Like they did that.
Yeah.
It was all social gameplay this week. You just had to give them opportunity to talk. That's all you need to do. Just give opportunities people to do things, but you don't actually have to gift things into the game. You don't have to take things away. The game's more interesting when you just give opportunities to the players to play. Trust that you cast people who want to play the game. Like, duh. but imagine if it was scarier and someone lost their vote. That would have been pretty crazy. I don't know. As a native New York / Californian, I think it would have been more fun if Jeff had popped out of the bushes and taken away everyone's vote. But on a serious note, that's a little bit of last week there. On a serious note, the game's better when they just let them play and give them opportunity. I think idols still need to be in the game. I'm not sitting here advocating for advantage to be gone, but I'm advocating for no more journeys. I'm advocating that you just give people opportunities to talk. And by having to go to Sanctuary overnight is an opportunity to talk. You know, it's not like a shortened, we go on a journey where we are forced to talk to each other for like 5 minutes and pretend that we care about each other. And then one of us gets an advantage. Like that's all a journey is. It's not, if a journey was an overnight stay, sure.
Ooh, yeah.
You know what I mean? If the journey was, if every journey was actually just an overnight stay where people talk and they get food.
Yeah.
Like I know that happened one time.
And they don't lose their vote.
I think it happened one time at 44 with Carolyn, if I recall. And she's like, oh, look at Danny over there. He just doesn't want to work with me. And like, they're blowing me off. They don't think I'm going to win. And they were right. But at the same time, my point being is that just give people opportunity. But then again, that's another example. The sanctuary, literally, it was not a journey. It was just go to the sanctuary and talk and have food. And I'm saying that should be all the journey ever is. with a clue for an idol at their camp. Sure. Like just like a regular idol, like a regular.
Just stick it in the fries. Yeah.
Right. Like they used to, and whoever finds it, great. Yes. Survivor nailed parts of the game. It's like, if you were to take the best parts of Survivor from all 47 seasons, you'd have the perfect show. It's like some seasons they nail some parts, other seasons they nail other parts. And it's like, it's always like one step forward, one step back, 2 steps forward, 2 steps back. You know, it's how it feels.
Yeah.
Like this episode,
someone should do an edit of a season, like the perfect season, but it's just like,
random
just
episodes.
Grabbing different bits from like, random episodes, random seasons. It's different people every episode.
Just saying, you don't get episodes like this with if a journey happens or Rachel is playing the ball game and she might get ripped into the ocean by holding onto a ball for too long, which by the way would have been hilarious. And I still have thought, I thought about that all week.
Yes, honestly, same. Yeah, that might be my new Roman Empire, at least for a while. That and the Wicked movie, but I'm like, I digress.
What are the odds of Rachel grabbing a ball and the thing rips into the ocean with her hanging onto it still? I'm like, enough for me to think about it. So anyway.
Yeah, there were so many ways for that to go wrong. It could have swept her feet the way that she was standing.
Right.
Like, that could have been really painful. That could have been really bad.
I'm rooting for the table. I'm rooting for chaos. It's not anti-Rachel. It's just anti-Journey. So whoever was there, I do not care who they were. It could have been anybody. If they had hung onto the ball and got ripped into the ocean.
I feel like it's also such a safety issue. Like, I feel like someone could get really hurt doing that. Like, what a stupid reason to get like out of the game from an injury on a journey like
Can all journeys be either A, overnight stays with food, or B, possibilities of being ripped into the ocean
mutilation.
Or something like that? Not mutilation.
Oh, sorry, too far. Okay.
Yeah, just an opportunity to get ripped into the ocean with your feet. I just like, and here's how I imagine it too. Like, hand going towards the ocean, body vertical, so her feet are like way up in the air. I don't like, she doesn't get dragged. It's like the weight of the table is so strong that her body physically goes vertical in the air. That's how I picture it.
And it's so vertical that like you know when you skip rocks on the water?
Yes.
She like skips on the water a few times.
I hadn't thought about the skipping on the water, but now I am.
Because it's so much momentum.
Anyways, journeys need to go unless there are opportunities for people to do social gameplay. All right, so let's see. They get letters from home. I don't care. Do you care?
No, these were so bland.
Yeah.
I felt like even when Sam was reading his, I specifically wrote a note like, they've got such emotional music behind him, and it's supposed to be like this emotional moment, and he's just reading like the most basic things.
Right. I told Mary, if I ever go on Survivor, just write me a bunch of jokes. I don't care if you copy paste them off the internet. I want to have the emotional music for the RT people on the reward, and I'm sitting there reading jokes.
Just rolling laughing.
Yeah. I'm like, this reminds me of home. Knock, knock. Who's there?
Or it's like, hey, did you know that Sammy is still 19? It's just like all of our running bits. It's like
the show like legit doesn't know what to do with. They're like, we're not showing Wesley during this.
They're like, what? Yeah, someone like picks you to go on the reward, and they're like, actually, you can't go on the reward. We pre-screened your letter, and it's just not good TV.
It's nonsense. It's classless. That's what they would say.
It is arguably unreadable.
They're like, it's literally just a bunch of jokes that nobody's gonna get.
Yeah. They're like, it's just random words and sentences that don't make any sense.
Right. It's Mary and I's love language. It's how we communicate.
They're like, it says right here, what about Genevieve?
Yeah.
And you're like, no, you're reading it wrong. You got to say it like,
what about Genevieve?
Like,
exactly.
Yeah.
Right. That's exactly right. Yeah, you can't say it like that. You're saying it wrong.
I'm just picturing you having this whole conversation with like a PA or a producer. Or somebody.
It'll be a producer, yeah.
I'm just like, what?
It's kind of like in Seinfeld when he's like, these pretzels are making me thirsty. And they all say it a different way. And they're like, what about Genevieve? I'm like, no, you're saying it wrong. What about Genevieve? I know you don't get that reference, Rebekah, because you're not cultured.
Because I haven't seen.
Right.
Yeah. Listen, I am cultured, just not about things that came out before the year 2000.
That's okay. Not about things for the year 2000, which is all the things I've been like, how have you not seen this exactly?
Yes, exactly.
All right.
Yeah.
So Rachel.
Except for Karate Kid, I got that.
Okay, so we go back to camp. People are salty, namely, not Caroline, by the way, who is always in a positive mood. Like the whole, even when getting blindsided by the epic blindside, and her positivity doesn't feel fake. It didn't feel forced. It didn't feel like last week's with Kyle. Like I held my tongue on this one, but it was kind of like I know Kyle's being legit probably, but I kind of felt for Sue for a second. I was like, if Kyle talks like this all the time, this is a little annoying. I know people aren't going to like that, but I was like, if Kyle talks like this all the time, I see how it could get a little annoying after 20 days. Like talking like overly positive, like, all right, Kyle, like, come on, man. Like, but anyway, sorry to
and some of that, like, I don't know. Sometimes I do think, because I don't know, because there's been so much talk in this new era about like, you know, Jeff is like, oh, no villains, and like, you know, everyone, especially in like the early new era seasons, everyone was just like 41, so 42. Positive.
It was a fake positivity.
I feel like there's still some of that where people kind of think that, especially if they haven't been watching the show for very long, I think that people think that they have to have that facade up at all times, which is still impressive to be able to do that when you're sleep deprived and starving. But I don't know. Yeah, I feel like there might be some of that at play here.
Yeah, it definitely reminds me of a lot of the fake positivity we saw in 41, 42. And after that as well, but mostly in 41 to 42, there's a lot of fake positivity. So anyways, I'm not saying Kyle's being fake positive. I'm saying that if Kyle were to talk like that for 20 days, I could see how Sue got annoyed. I'm not saying that Sue is right to say all the negative things she said about Kyle.
Are you saying
I'm just saying
that you would also want to stab Kyle in the face?
I'm not saying that. I'm saying that one moment I could see how it's a little annoying. That's all I am saying, to be clear. I do not side with Sue and all of her negative comments about Kyle. All right. I want to make sure I'm very clear on that. Just for a moment, I was like, maybe Sue has a point. But it was just for a fleeting moment, you know?
I don't know about that.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was saying. I don't know about that. All right. So Rachel says, Sam's move to take Andy and Genevieve makes no strategic sense. In fact, it makes my alliance tighter. I mean, she's not wrong. Her alliance did vote together.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's not wrong, which is part of a winner's edit. However, Teeny is so ticked. Here are my notes. Teeny is so ticked. She says, Sam just quit the game, exclamation point. I put Teeny hates Sam, stupid Sam, girl power.
Yeah.
What's your read on this? I like that she
specifically, I like that she was specifically like, am I just a man hater? Because she was like hating on him so much. She's like, am I being sexist right now? Because I just like literally hate him so much. It's like, that's good. It's always good to check in. I don't think that's what was happening here. But, you know, good to keep yourself accountable,
See,
I guess.
I made a video last month called Is Survivor Sexist Against Women? Maybe the video should have been Is Teeny Sexist Against Sam?
Yeah. Which, like,
time
honestly,
to break down the
here's
stats.
The thing. I'm going to say this, hot take. I think we should be more sexist against men because they've had their moment. And Wesley, I don't know, maybe you can weigh in on this as the man in the room.
Okay.
But I don't know. I think a little sexism is healthy when it's against men.
Only against men?
Only against men. If it's against women, it's not okay.
I'll let the commenters comment on this one. All right. So.
Anyways,
commenters, you agree or disagree. It's up to you. Andy offers a plan to force a split vote. Oh, we talked about that. So here's what I was thinking in the moment. Like, if successful, they'll just be tied 3-3 next week. I'm like, what is the end game for Andy here? All he's done is put a massive target on his back. He's flipped on everybody. Like, sure, Sam and Genevieve will be willing to work with Andy, but I bet if the other three were like, hey, we want to vote at Andy, they'll be like, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, exactly. As long as it's not me.
Yeah,
sure.
Literally, that puts us one vote closer to fire making. I just want to get to fire making because that means you can't vote me out.
And I think also part of my thing, and this could be an editing thing, but with Andy, his flipping, like, it doesn't always seem intentional, or like not intentional, but like well thought out, I guess. Maybe.
No.
And again, could be an editing thing. Maybe he has a genius plan that we don't know about because we don't see it in the edit. But like, if the way it was presented in this episode was he was like, oh, I'm at the bottom of this 5-person alliance.
Which is
so
true.
I need to do something about that. It is true. But if he was like, I need to do something about that. What if I work with Sam and Genevieve? Because they'll work with anybody. And then, okay, how do we do this? Like, if that was the way it was presented, I would be much more on board with this. But what it feels like is just that Andy always wants to be top dog. And so the second he feels like that's not happening in his alliance, he's going to flip on them just because he doesn't feel like, you know, everyone's cheering when he opens coconuts or whatever.
Are you being sexist against Andy right now? Is this part of what you're saying?
Maybe
earlier?
a little. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, he does have long hair, so I don't know.
Check your privilege there, Rebekah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. Yeah. But like, again, it could just be an editing thing, but definitely the way this was presented, it just seemed like Andy kind of just wanted to put together a cool spy action movie.
Right.
And so that's what he did. Yeah.
Hold on.
Very fun to watch.
Let's be clear. If the goal of Andy's game is just to make flashy moves without any care in the world about whether he's going to win, Andy's playing a good game. If Andy's goal is to win Survivor 47, Andy is not playing a good game. I guess let's be clear, because there have been times in the past, let's say the most notable examples are like Colby Donaldson in season 2, where he purposefully picked Tina to go to the end instead of Keith, infamously, and Tina won in one vote over Colby, very close vote, but if you pick Keith, guaranteed win. But for Colby, it was not important whether he won the $1 million. It was more important to him how he was perceived by the public and his own moral standing, however you want to look at that. So if the $1 million was the most important thing, he would have made the right move, but he didn't. Woo, in season 28, thankfully he made the dumb choice. Picked Tony over Cass, because imagine if he hadn't. Imagine if he picked Cass and Woo was our winner.
Ooh,
Woo picks Tony over Cass. I believe Woo. I believe Woo when he says it's for honor, all these other things. He's a martial arts instructor. Like, I think Woo was recruited for the show. So when I believe Woo when he says that, I think the jury will respect this move more, and I want to stay loyal and honorable to Tony, who, by the way, has looped him into every single move he's made in the post-merge game. So it makes sense why he picks Tony over Cass, even though on paper, if Woo's goal was just simply to win the game, to get the $1 million, he would have picked Cass. But because Woo was recruited, as far as, but from what I can tell watching the show, I hate to say that, and he actually watched every season as they came out. But anyways, I think he was recruited. I think he made the move that for him made sense as a person. So if Andy's goal was to go on Survivor 47, make flashy moves and make fun TV, he's done that sometimes. But if his goal
he's
is to
definitely
win,
one of the most memorable characters of this season, for sure.
I think if anyone's getting asked back for 50, I think it's actually Andy now. From this season, I mean.
Ooh, interesting. I don't know how I feel about that, but you might be
right. The better
right.
choice would be roam if you want to roam around the world.
Yes.
But I think the show, the way how much love they've been giving Andy, I think it's Andy.
Yeah.
They've given a lot of love to Andy in the edit.
Yeah. Imagine if they bring Banu back. Anyway.
Could they not? Could they just not? That'd be okay.
He got a lot of screen time for only being in 3 episodes or whatever.
There's so many people I don't want to see that I see than Banu, who cried for 4 episodes and dragged down that part of the season. That was the real downer.
Oof. Yeah. Moment of silence for
the
beginning of that season.
I then wrote this point because I realized what's happening. But Andy is loyal to the soil. He never flips on his alliance.
Of course.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Operation Italy. Oh, it should have been Operation Applebee's. I wrote that. Sam gives all right. So some brilliant. That's what I said. It's not all Andy. He did spearhead it. Sam gives Genevieve his expired idol. Finally, it comes into play. He talked about it. He said, I could utilize this in the future. Sure enough, he did. He gives it to Genevieve. So Genevieve, so my understanding, and maybe you can correct me, is that she takes the idol and enhances it. She doesn't replace it, like anything in it. She just enhances the idol.
I was confused by that. Yeah, she enhanced it, or I don't know. She might have taken some of the beads off. I'd have to look at it.
To make it look more like a merge idol and less like a whatever tribe he was on, the yellow tribe.
Maybe that's what it was. Yeah. Because I was kind of like, why are you disassembling this idol?
That's already made by Survivor Production. You're right.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it is a real idol. I mean, it doesn't work anymore, but it's a real idol.
Right.
So I don't know.
It had to be.
But yeah, I think you're right. It probably was
for
to
the
change
yellow
the
tribe.
color of the beads. Yeah.
Here's the thing, though. Even if it was color coded for the yellow tribe, there was an opportunity to make your idol good through the end of the game. Remember? That was the whole box thing.
That's true, but then wouldn't people wonder why she had a yellow idol? Like if the play was that it's Sam's idol, that could work. But it wouldn't make sense for her to have it because, like, why would Sam give Genevieve his idol?
Why did Genevieve need the idol and not Sam?
Yeah, I mean,
that's what I'm saying. So let's say,
good question.
Why couldn't Sam have the idol?
I think they just thought that Genevieve was going to be targeted more by the I don't know, the 5 or the all women's alliance.
But the split vote plan.
Was to target Sam.
I guess maybe
more.
There was more likely it was easier to get 3 votes on. I don't know how the votes actually panned out. Like, I don't know who Andy was supposed to be the 3rd vote for, but I don't know.
Well, and
I'm just
Rachel,
is he like extra
this
steps?
Was the other thing. Rachel, I guess I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but Rachel was so smart because she was like, listen, guys, we shouldn't, like, if we're going to split, it should be like 4 votes on Sam and 1 on Genevieve. Because she was like nervous about,
because otherwise there's no reason to do 4-1. I want to point out
exactly.
If she used her block a vote, then yes, 4-1. But without the block a vote, there's literally 0. That's even dumber. 4-1. That makes no sense.
I mean, I think it was smart in the sense that she was like, "What if someone flips, guys? We do have Andy in our alliance."
Because the show has to make sure that you think the winner's smart, even when something bad is happening to them.
Yes, exactly.
Correct. Yep.
Yeah. So anyway, it's a little out of order, but.
That's okay. All right.
Thought you were going to be like, no, that's not allowed.
Teenie tells Sam by the way, Teenie makes fun of Sam before he gets back. She's like, he's going to come in tomorrow, be all charismatic and be all nice and be like, blah, 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 blah. Teenie, by the way, is just going all out. And I said, Mary, can you tell me what Teenie's age is? And she looks up, she said 23. And I was like, kind of makes sense. It's one of those things you kind of grow out of. Like, this seems more like something I would expect an 18 to 20-year-old to do, but I guess if your maturity level still in that range.
What was the thing she said? She was like something like, I'm paraphrasing, but she was like, I just hate this, like, the classically handsome quarterback prom king. Like, of course he's just like entitled and blah blah blah. And like, yeah, she was just like going in on him.
Yeah, like Sam's able to like control his like genes. Like,
yeah, exactly.
I wish Sam didn't look so classically handsome and like a football quarterback. Oh, what a jerk.
It was, I don't know, like, I don't want to speculate
like getting
too
on a
much,
Teenie for the way she looks, or, you know, like, come on, man.
Yeah, it very much like, it felt like, and she did admit this in the episode, it felt like there was a very much an undertone of jealousy.
Yes.
Like, you know, she was saying all these things, but I think she was really just like,
she's mad she didn't get her life from
wanted
home
to go
and
on the
food.
reward, which, like, fair enough. Yeah.
Right.
I get it.
So when we say all this, we're saying it knowing that this is just how they were on Survivor. We are not commenting on them outside of Survivor.
Yeah.
Just to be clear.
I'm sure if I got on Survivor, boy.
Oh no, I'd be jealous too.
Oh boy.
You wouldn't see me acting the way Teenie was in front of other people. But in confessional, yes, in confessional, I would 100% be doing what Teenie's doing. Like, he's going to come back to the camera, but I wouldn't do it in front of the other people. I'd do it in confessional. That's where you do that kind of stuff. Anyways.
And then someone else has a flashback to things that you were saying about them in a confessional. You're like, oh, how did they know they weren't even there?
Genevieve's on my season as like a captain, and she has her third eye see my confessional where I point out. And I go, what about Genevieve? And she's like, I heard him say that. Anyway, so Sam actually comes back and is playing it super chill. And he's like, oh, sorry, guys, I couldn't pick you. Like, by the way, not doing the charismatic thing Teenie said. And Teenie's like, yeah, no, it's fine. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nothing like the way she said he would come back.
That was funny to see that. Yeah. The contrast.
Yeah. Sam's like, okay, the strategy is I'm going to play dead. Genevieve's making a fake idol and Andy still acts loyal. By the way, Andy acted loyal, but there were times where I'm like, things are coming out of Andy's mouth that should not be coming out if he's loyal, such as when we're at Tribal. Or no, it wasn't him. I mean, Andy said things. One of them was like, Genevieve's like, I'm swinging for the fences tonight. I'm like, shut up. Shut up, Genevieve. Don't say that. No, you and Sam need to act dead.
Would you say that though if you had an idol?
Because I don't think
so. I think you're right. Yeah.
It's fake.
Like, I think the way she should have framed it is more of like tonight is my last move. And I got to figure out what I'm doing next week. Like,
I am scraping by. If I survive this, Jeff, it's by the skin of my teeth. You do not present it as I am here to make a big move tonight. What do you like? That's first off, that's too obvious, especially when you are supposedly assuming everybody doesn't know you have an idol, right? But when you say something like that, you assume that Teeny went back and snitched to everybody. But remember, I don't know, like the way it was presented to Teeny was like, Teeny, I trust you to have to tell everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. She's like, oh, quick, someone's coming. I can't show you.
Yeah, quick. By the way, I don't think Teeny knows what a fake idol would look like. I think Teeny would have just been fooled. But she did ask for a note. Good for Teeny ask for a note.
Well, especially because, Teeny saw, like, Rome's idol. And so, like, yeah, True. She would have known, like, hey, this is similar. Like, yeah, this is what the idols look like this season or whatever.
Sure. But at the same time, Teeny did the right thing. I want to see the note. She's like, well, I can go dig it up if you want. By the way, weird that you would only hide the note.
Bury the note.
Right.
Yeah.
Correct. That would have made me go, if I was Teeny, I'd go, that doesn't make any sense. I'm not saying, I'm not going to say her Monday morning quarterback and act like I'd play the perfect game of Survivor. That's just one of those times I know in person I would not need to later think about it. I'd be like, in person, I'd be like, that doesn't make any sense. Why would you bury the note, not the idol? It's exactly what I would say to Genevieve too. I'd be like, Genevieve, are you trying to trick me? Because I want to work with you. Because I would never be in Teeny's position.
Does Teeny want to work with her? I don't know if Teeny does.
Sorry. If I'm in Teeny's position, I don't want to work with everyone else. I want to work with Genevieve because so I can every day go, what about Genevieve? How is Genevieve doing today? And I want to talk just like that.
Yeah.
And she'll be like, Wesley, he's so loyal, but he's so annoying.
And then Sue is like, I have a new target. Wesley is so annoying.
Genevieve's getting me out because I'm so loyal to her? Is that what you just said?
No. Sue has a new target because now that Kyle's gone, so he's like not being annoying around camp anymore, and you're constantly talking in that high-pitched voice. You're Sue's new target.
No, I would only do that with Genevieve. So if you're on the island with Sue, the easiest way to relate to Sue is just clearly just a dog on whoever she wants to dog on. So if she wants to dog on Kyle, I'll be like, Kyle.
Tell her she looks like she's 45.
Yeah, exactly.
The contour is working.
Be like, that $1.20 thing you said was a bunch of, I'm with you, Sue. You just like leave it kind of vague. Like you don't really get into specifics. You just like kind of like lead into things and don't finish them. I think you got Sue on your side. Caroline though, so positive no matter what.
Oh, she seems so nice. Like I would genuinely enjoy hanging out with her.
I would align with Caroline and not worry about it at all. Right. Yeah. I don't think she's getting asked back, but if she did, I would, and I was for some reason on the same season, I would align with Caroline and not think twice about it.
Yeah.
Be like, yep, no, this is fine. I trust you. All right.
And that's the season she's like, all right, this time I'm going to blindside everybody. She just like wrecks your game.
I'm going from cop to criminal or whatever Sarah Lissy is. This time I'm going all evil. Like, Caroline's like, Caroline like dyes her hair like black and everything, goes all out.
Ooh, yes.
Never smiles at all, just frowns all season. But she can't really help it because like naturally she's a smiler. So she's like trying to like hide her smile. She's like,
she's like putting dirt in her teeth so her smile is like dirty.
I was gonna say, I'm doing a visual thing. I just realized there's no camera on me. So anyways.
Yeah.
All right, we get the immunity challenge. TLDR. I wrote, if Sam or Genevieve win this, then the split vote plan can't happen. So they cannot win. Mary said, no, they should win anyways. And I was like, yeah, but then the split vote plan can't happen. And you just sacrificed your teammate. So that's very short-term thinking.
I agree. I mean, it is tough because like their plan tonight was risky and they were relying on Andy, which is
who is loyal to no one.
Very risky.
Loyal to
so
no
like
one.
part of me is like, if I'm in that position, I'm still going to try and win immunity because at least then I know that I am safe tonight.
But then you just burn Genevieve or you burn Sam, depending on which person you are.
Yes, and that's true, and I wouldn't want that.
So what's your plan next week? You gotta win immunity again.
But what's their plan next week right now? Their plan next week is to get a tie vote and like try and make that happen, and like that's gonna be like tough to pull off, or win immunity next week. So I don't know. I feel like you're in kind of a similar position next week, regardless. Whereas like this week, if I have
Sam
the
or
immunity
Genevieve
next
still
week,
with you, you still have a person to help you. Next week, if you win immunity, you're flying solo because you can't trust Andy.
Well, but that's what I'm like. Next week, like the main way I know I'm safe next week is to win immunity. Like their
in this
move
fantasy
is
world,
like
what are you,
so
Kyle?
risky. Listen, no, but I'm just saying, like even with the way that it panned out, like next week is not guaranteed for any of them. Like next week is going to be, they're going to scrape by the skin of their teeth. So I don't know. I feel like it would have been similar either way. I don't know. Yes, it's slightly better to have like another person you can vote with, always 100%. But I'm just saying, like, I would not have felt comfortable enough with their plan tonight to throw the immunity challenge. Like, it was not a sure enough thing. That's my 2 cents.
Well, Rachel wins immunity. So really, their plan had quite a few issues. One of them was, well, we need theoretically 3 out of 7 people to not win immunity.
Mm-hmm.
That didn't happen. So Rachel wins.
Right.
Which was the moment I was like, dang, I was really hoping this. Nothing against Rachel again. Just was hoping for the upset of the century, having Rachel be voted out tonight.
That would have been crazy.
Right.
But do you think she would have played her idol?
Well, she didn't play her block a vote. Why would she play her idol?
Because, I mean, I kind of think she would have because she knew her name was out there. And like tonight, she was safe. Let's run through it.
If Sam wins immunity, I don't think she plays her idol. Right? Because they can fake the idol all they want, but I don't think it works anymore. There's no reason to split votes. Yeah, I don't think so. I'm not saying she doesn't play her idol. I just think, why?
Yeah.
Why?
It's tough to speculate because there would have been a lot of, it would have depended on what things were like leading up to tribal and then at tribal, but I don't know.
I don't know either. Anyways, all right, so she wins immunity. We don't have to really speculate because it didn't happen. Sam says they need to get out Caroline. By the way, Mary called that. She said if Rachel wins immunity, Caroline's going to go. And I was like, what? I was like,
impressive.
Why Caroline? She's like, because they established earlier in the episode, the mother-daughter thing is Sue and Caroline. I'm like, well, what about Sue? And then we both laughed. So
yeah,
that's really how it happened
that's
too.
smart.
I said, what about Sue? And it was like, we both knew.
That's so funny.
Right. Yeah.
I'm just mad that the way this affected my fantasy team. I guess we'll talk about it more later. But
Caroline's not on your team, is she?
No, but I had split votes tonight on Sam and Genevieve, and then neither of them went home. But anyway,
I split votes on Sam and Genevieve as well.
Yeah.
I put most of my votes on them, and then I put one vote each on everybody else except for Rachel.
Nice.
I'm like, pretty sure Rachel's got this.
Rachel's winning. Yeah, right.
Anyways, so what was I saying? Oh, Mary called it. I don't know. I guess that's it. So we go back to camp, and Andy says what I've seen people comment, and when I said it, I looked at Mary and went, oh, teeny, teeny, teeny.
Yes, I noticed this as well. Yep.
It's hard not to say. It's a name that just begs to be said 3 times in a row. I don't know what it is. It just is. It just is.
Yeah.
The way it is. Teeny, teeny, teeny. Roam if you want to. Roam around the world. When I hear roam, I can't not think of that song. So Genevieve tells Teeny she wants the votes on her. And I'm like, it's a little obvious. But Survivor isn't, none of these people are actors. Or if they are, they're not being very successful if they're on Survivor instead of acting in films. So I don't think Genevieve's an actor is what I'm saying. They used to cast, they used to recruit a lot of actors and models. And that's all I'm saying. Genevieve is not an actor. And you can tell here because it's like a little obvious. But also, if you're in Teeny's position, you have no reason to think that Genevieve is faking an idol to have Andy make a split vote. Like, there's just no rational reason to think that. I would have fallen for this plan as well if I was in the majority 5. I'd have been a little sus of Andy.
It is interesting how much people are just trusting Andy even after he's flip-flopped so many times. But yeah, I mean, I agree. Like, it was smart to make Genevieve more the focus of Operation Italy because like you said with Teeny, focusing on Genevieve, it's more about, okay, is Genevieve lying to me? And it's less about, oh, is Andy lying to me? Right. Even though that should always be in the back of everyone's heads, but that's not what they're focusing on. It is, and it's a good misdirect. It's very good.
Because if Genevieve didn't pretend to have an idol, if Genevieve didn't do anything, she was just sitting around camp like Sam was, they'd be like, why is Andy pushing so hard for a split vote? Let's just get out Andy. We have a 5-2 advantage. We could just get out Andy and be up 4-2. We're fine. Yep. We're fine either way. Right. That would have been my thought process. But Genevieve was basically a distraction. And think about this too. They have their challenge. I don't know what time of day the challenge is. Let's say around lunch. Lunch. Maybe it's before lunch. Maybe it's after lunch. It's around lunch. They then just have the afternoon to talk before they get put on a boat, brought to tribal council, because they have to wait for nighttime. But also remember, they're never at camp when it's actually dark out. So there's definitely a time when they're on the boat and then sitting waiting for it to get dark for tribal council to happen. You know, that whole sunset golden hour is their travel time, I assume. So really, they got like 3 or 4 hours to talk. That's enough time for Genevieve to pretend to have an idol and for people to not really have enough time to think, is this fake? Is Andy tricking us? Like, it's just the right amount of time to pull this off. Because had they had another night, here it sounds like I'm advocating for 26 days. I'm not. I'm advocating for less nonsense and more opportunity for players to play the game, because that's what you get when you get things like this. Let players time it themselves. If they have time, they'll time it. Whereas if everything happened in one day, and I mean everything, then this doesn't happen. Anyways, so that's why you need more time. So they just enough time to come back from the challenge, have 3 or 4 hours to talk, pretend something's happening, and people not have enough time to think that they could be being played. Whereas had they timed this wrong and done it the day before tribal, people have had a night to sleep on it. I bet you people suss this out. But they didn't have enough time. The game was too dangerous. Just too dangerous.
Yeah. Too fast paced.
Yes. Too fast, too furious. Too fast, too dangerous. The sequel.
Yes.
Yeah.
The sequel.
Sue says, I will play my idol for Caroline if she needs to. Mary's like, oh, Sue's going to play for Caroline. I'm like, come on, Mary, you know better. I'm like, they just threw that in there to make it sound like it's a possibility. It ain't happening.
Yeah, Sue is leaving the island with that idol in her pocket.
At the rate we're going, Sue's never playing the idol. This is the first time I've even heard her mention that she might play it. And it was such a nothing burger of a confessional. It was in there just to throw off the casual viewer. There ain't everyone and their mother who watches this show and listens to this podcast knew that Sue was not playing her idol. And if you didn't, welcome to Survivor. Hi. Know that when you hear confessionals that sound absurd, it's because they likely are. It's just people just saying things. And I'm sure, and maybe she said that episodes ago, by the way. They put it anytime they want. They put it anytime they want.
Yeah,
they just need her to say it once, and then they can use it whenever they want. Because Sue doesn't grow facial hair, so you'll never know when she said it. I'm serious. This facial hair gives away for the guys.
No, that's fair. But also that's partly why I thought early in the episode, I thought maybe Rachel was going to play her idol tonight, because I think they said something about it in the previously on Survivor. So I was like, ooh, because this is like the second week in a row that they've mentioned it in previously on Survivor.
Right,
so
right.
I don't know if that's another red herring or it's probably getting played eventually, but I guess we'll find out.
Yeah. Well, it has to be played by 5, so we'll see if she does.
Yeah.
To point out the thing I said about the facial hair, season 8 All Stars, the episode 4, when Boston Rob gets rid of Rob Sesternino, other Rob, that episode, they pretend like Rob Sesternino, this is the episode where he decides to try to make an alliance with Boston Rob, and Boston Rob agrees, and he's like, I'm just playing Rob Sesternino. He's an idiot. Well, in that episode, if you watch it, you'll notice that Rob Sesternino's facial hair makes a massive shift from the rest of the episode and the one scene he talks to Boston Rob. Almost like that one scene with Boston Rob happened like a week earlier in the show's time frame. Like it's day, like I forgot what day he gets voted. I think he gets voted like it's episode 4. So it's probably day 11 or 12. He gets voted off based on how they used to play the game. So he's really talking to Boston Rob like day 4, 5, 6 facial hair, but they present it like he waited until day 11 to try to make an alliance. No, dude, he made this alliance like 6, 7 days ago. And you could tell because it cuts from the conversation with Boston Rob where his facial hair is like a little bit there. And then like his facial hair is more there. Anyways, it's one of those, they do this more often than that, but it was one of the most obvious examples of like them going back episodes ago to like make it look like this is what's happening. And so said, Sue could have said the Caroline Idol thing 3 episodes ago. You have no idea.
Yeah.
The only thing that's consistent about Sue is how much dirt's on her face. And I think it's been there for a while. So they got a lot of room to work with. They're like, if she cleans her face, we'll never be able to use any of these confessionals.
That's what's happening is Sue put dirt on her face like 1 or 2 days. And then ever since then, the producers have been like, wait, you need to contour your face.
Yeah, no, you
we'll
have to.
You.
It's for consistency.
Yeah. Listen, it looks good, we promise.
Keep it dirty. Keep it dirty. It's a new island look. Yeah. So we go to tribal. Teeny confidently states there's a pecking order.
Yeah, that was crazy.
It's true. I agree. Shut up.
Yeah, like literally, why would you say that? That's my thing. I feel like I don't know. I think part of what's happening right now is we're seeing Teeny as too comfortable, which is like It's it happens a lot at this stage in the game, and I don't know, yeah, but like that's something you only say if you are very confident in your alliance and very comfortable with your position in that alliance.
There's no reason to even say there's a pecking order, by the way.
No.
The 4 women already know they're the tighter inner alliance and Andy's their outlier. There's no reason. The only thing you're doing is making Andy feel like he's an outlier, which Andy is already aware of.
Yeah.
There's no reason. There's none. And when Jeff asks you questions, you have to answer them. You come up with nonsense. We see it week after week after week. By the way, I don't want to discourage people from saying stupid things tribal. Please go ahead. If you want to go on Survivor and do it, I will love to hear it. Just know it will hurt your game.
Yeah.
Yep.
But it'll make for good TV. So.
I'm okay sitting here criticizing it, but know that I will probably do the same thing. I go on, undoubtedly, Jeff will talk to me enough to get me to say dumb things. It's fine. It's fine. I'm a first boot / Final 3 goat waiting to happen. I'm not going to play any better of a game than Teeny here. Teeny probably is playing a game that I'd play. Ugh, I'll do nothing all game.
You might be less sexist towards men, though.
I don't know. After listening to you, I might be more. I might be like, God, channel my
inner. Persuaded you?
I got channel my inner Rebekah. Freaking Sam. Can't believe he's like a football player. At least he looks like one.
He's so handsome. I hate him.
He's so handsome. I just want to kiss him on his lips. I hate him. I just want to take off his shirt and look at his 6-pack abs. I hate him so much. That's what I would be saying, to be clear. Right.
Yes.
I'm not speaking for
course.
Teeny. All right. So,
yeah.
All right. Anyways, so she says that tribal. I said, this is where I made the note. Amazing how good the show is when they just get out of the way, just let people play the game. I'm like, there's no nonsense. A reward challenge, an immunity challenge, and potentially an idol. The basics.
Yep.
The basics of
Survivor Gold.
Survivor post season 11. I know they introduced the idol in season 11. It was not an idol in any way that anybody uses anymore. So post season 11, like the basics, reward, immunity, possibly an idol. It's enough. There's a recipe there and it works. I understand other things need to happen. Other things need to be unique challenges, different opportunities for social gameplay, but definitely not all the
we
nonsense.
Need 4 episodes of the merge. Yeah, like you gotta spice it up for sure.
A 5-part premiere. A 5-part merge and then a 3-part finale. There you go.
Survivor season 50 is going to be like 20 episodes because they keep having to like drag out like, all these like
advertisers aren't paying as much as they used to. We got to make this longer.
Oh no. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So anyways, Genevieve and Sam pretend to not play the idol. You kind of mentioned that earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Potentially very low chance of leaving the door open that we might play it next week. There's just what they forgot to include was the logical reason that they didn't play it this week.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the logical reason would be to say out loud. And by the way, if you're wrong, sure. But if you're right, amazing. Go. It's because we split the vote. Because we got you guys to split the vote, so we don't need to play it. That's what you say.
Oh,
I don't need to play the idol because you guys split the votes and one of you is about to go. And you say that, and sure, it sounds cocky, but people might think you have the idol still. Because you confidently said why you aren't playing it. There's no reason to play it.
Here's the thing, though.
You guys are going.
Here's the thing. As soon as you do that, everyone else who has an idol is playing it. Like, everyone else pulls an idol out of their pocket.
Okay.
You know what I
mean? So
Rachel
plays her idol. Oh, good. Oh, double whammy then. We get 2 idols out of play. Good.
Yeah, but I don't know. I mean, okay, so Sue might play her idol for Caroline. She might play it for herself.
Sue ain't playing her idol for Caroline.
So, okay, so say Sue plays her idol for herself. Rachel has an idol, and she has an immunity necklace right now. So, I don't know. Maybe she hangs on to the idol. Maybe she plays it for somebody.
I don't think anybody knows Rachel has that idol still, right? We're right.
No, no one does. And I don't think anyone besides Caroline knew about Sue's idol. I could be wrong.
What you do is you just confidently... So, there's 2 ways you go about this. So, like, okay. So, I understand this is a Wesley move at this point, and this is... nobody here on this show has done this because it's not their character. So Wesley, myself, would have said that, and I would have hopefully planned it through further than that, like you're saying, like, okay, everybody's gonna play their idols because potentially there are real idols out there. I don't have an idol. My buddy here, Genevieve, doesn't have one. I assume Andy, who lies to everybody, doesn't have one, but what do I really know? I have to assume that somebody out here has an idol. So what you do is either A, confidently say who you split the votes, who's about to be voted out, hoping that they go, well, clearly they're not going to tell me the target. I'm going to play the idol for blah, blah, blah. Or B, you say the wrong person. But I feel like you just say the person you're actually going to vote out. And then rolled the dice. And if it's wrong,
because then it's mind games and they don't have much time to think. So that is,
it's just enough time for them to go, oh, no way. They're not telling me who they're voting. Clearly, it's got to be me, you know? Get them, it's last second. Jeff's like, I am reading the votes. They don't have time to sit there and ponder all their thoughts about who they didn't even know
they're like,
this was going to happen.
Wait a second, I got to do some math.
Right. In fact, that's the only way this move is better. So now they think, holy, Genevieve might have an idol. Wesley made us burn our idols. Well, I hate Wesley now. What else is new? I hate Wesley now. But they still think that Genevieve has an idol. Therefore, there is still power potentially to be had. Teeny saw the idol. Unfortunately, did not see a note, but Teeny saw an idol. As long as Teeny's not the one who goes out on this vote, on the split vote, which it shouldn't be. It should be Caroline, because Caroline doesn't have an idol. I don't know. I understand what I said is really dumb and risky to many people. It's how I would play the game.
It's a risky move, but they're in a risky position. So, I mean, like sometimes you do have to swing for the fences.
Yes, exactly. If I'm in Sam's position or Genevieve's position, this is what I do. However, I understand why many people wouldn't do that. I understand why they didn't do it. However, I understand that this is not a normal thing. It's only when I'm down 5-2 and I'm riding on freaking Andy to help me out to win this game. So me, myself, Wesley, that's how I would do it. It would be fun for TV. People go on podcasts, criticize me. That's fine. What else is new? All right. So Genevieve and Sam pretend not to play the idol. Caroline's voted out 3-2. Very fascinating. Very interesting. The smirks, by the way, wiped. Teeny was smirking. They were so focused on that. He's smirking. Smirk's gone. Teeny's blown away. What?
Which, like, honestly, I do think that this could be really good for Teeny's game in the sense that, like we were talking about earlier, I think that she's gotten too comfortable, too cocky, maybe even with like the position that she's in. And so I think that this could be a really good wake-up call. And Sam and Genevieve and Andy really don't have a ton of power at the moment. So yeah, like could be a really good wake-up call and like, oh, okay, we gotta like take this seriously and not be too confident, you know, and have plans and backup plans and really think through our votes and everything. So yeah, could be good for her.
Well, we'll see what happens next week in the 2-part finale. I anticipate one of the votes is Andy. After that or before that, I don't know. Can Andy survive to Final 5? Is he a goner next time? We'll see. I'm hoping that we get Andy stays loyal for once to Sam and Genevieve and we get a tie vote 3-3. Right? Let's draw rocks. That'd be amazing. I don't think it'll happen, but that'd be amazing. I'm down for that. Like, I think we're at the point where Sam and Genevieve would draw rocks. Teeny ain't flipping.
I think so too.
Sue isn't flipping. Rachel isn't flipping. The only person who would flip is Andy. Right? The only reason rocks would not be drawn is because Andy would flip. Andy would flip back to the 3, vote with them, and then he would go at 5.
Honestly, I think he probably would.
Right.
Yeah.
Andy would be willing to flip on Genevieve or Sam. One of them goes at 6, and then Andy goes at 5. Just a guess. We'll see how it plays out next week. But that's what it feels like to me. It's like Sam or Genevieve are gone next. And Andy goes at 5. If Andy goes at 6, it's just because the 3 go to Sam and Genevieve. They're like, screw Andy, and they're like, yeah, fair, yeah, that's KK. I do think Andy flips on them. I could even see a scenario where it's like they vote out Sam and then Genevieve and then Andy, but either way, I think those 3 are the next to go. I'm loading up my fantasy team points on Sam, Genevieve, and Andy, baby. It's got to be some combination of those 3. If, by the way, let's say it isn't. Let's say Rachel finally goes. I don't think so. Let's say Rachel actually goes. Crazy. We're going to have our podcast next week's going to have our minds blown. Like, who the flips about to win this game? The podcast next week would just be like an hour and a half of silence because we're just like, in shock. No way. Next week we'll be like, was it actually? It's been Teeny all along. Yes. The whole time we kept her in our top 3, but there's like flaws. But to the end of the day, Matt Chat, highest name, sob story. It was Teeny. We were just dumb. What? It's like in WandaVision. I guess spoilers if you haven't seen that. But like in the last episode where they're like, it was Agatha all along. How much of a spoilers like that they even made a sequel show called Agatha All Along? Was it really? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that came out like 3 years ago. If you're worried about WandaVision spoilers, heads up. Every MCU TV show movie ends with a CGI fight in the sky and on the ground. You're welcome. Okay. Yeah. I just spoiled the entire MCU. And sometimes there's a song. In this one, there's a song. Right. Sometimes there's music. Yes. The color grading will be mostly flat and boring and uninteresting to look at. So there you go. I just gave you I spoiled the MCU for you. Sorry. There's 30 movies and TV shows. Okay.
Oh no.
I know. There are some MCU movies I like. I'm not done. I'm just saying that.
Yeah.
Spoilers for the MCU get real. But Infinity War happened and people got snapped and died. I'm like, yeah, but like Spider-Man can't die. They already scheduled another Spider-Man movie. I already knew that. Yeah. They announced it. It wasn't even like a spoiler. They announced
the golden era between Iron Man and Endgame is like an iconic piece of cinema history. Like, so good. Like, there's some misses in there, don't get me wrong. Like, I think Captain Marvel's included in that. But like, yeah, just overall, like, those are great. Since then, couldn't care less about Marvel. Every movie is the same.
All right, let's move on to fantasy team time. Your team is still Sam and Rachel.
Yeah, my team is hanging in there for real.
Your team is solid.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I mentioned this earlier,
Sam.
But
it was Genevieve tonight. It wasn't Sam. Sam was fine.
Yeah. Yeah? Yeah, I mentioned this earlier, but I did split my votes between Sam and Genevieve tonight, so that didn't help me at all.
Sure, but Rachel won immunity and she's on your team.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sam voted correctly. Right.
Thanks. Yep.
Sorry for the coughing, guys, by the way. I don't know where the coughing came from. All right, in case you hear it. If I edit it out, then great. What coughing? Exactly.
They're just like, what coughing?
My team is still Gabe and Annika, so I'm doing fantastic. Actually, believe it or not, I'm not too bad in the standings. I just know that this week, come out of the next 2 weeks, I'm just going to drop down because like I'm hanging on me voting correctly. And I think this week I put 1 vote on Caroline. Like, okay, you know, like
tough.
If you don't pass me in the rankings and you have people still in the game, you're done screwed up. You should be passing me at this point. I have Gabe and Annika. Annika's been gone for like a decade now, and Gabe left like 3 episodes ago. You should pass me by this point.
Yeah, that's tough.
Anyway, so yeah, we're definitely doing this again next season for all paid patrons. All right, just want to throw that out there. I keep saying it because I mean it. We're gonna do it. It's fun. Okay, let's move on to what's new on Patreon. Rebekah, would you believe it? I did it again this week. I did the thing.
You gave someone random a free what subscription?
I haven't. Yes, I haven't picked it yet, but I did another post on community tab where I slipped it in there. I said, "Hey, random person who likes this post and comments. I think what video they want to see the most. I'll give them a free month of Patreon." Let me tell you, some people commented, did not read the post again.
Classic.
I know. So, anyways, what is new on Patreon? Great question. As always, these podcasts are early and ad-free. That's right. For all paid patrons are ad-free, and you get them early even if you're a free patron. There is stuff for free patrons, by the way, so it is worthwhile. It just takes an email to sign up for free. Link in the description. The videos, some of the videos that are on there are Woo's story video. I just finished that today, actually, Wednesday.
Nice.
Chaos Cass's videos on there. Jeff Probst going way off script. I did that last month. It was a big hit. I was like, okay, I'll do another one. So I made another one. And nice. It is on Patreon as well. The Rise and Fall of Coach Wade and the Rise and Fall of Amanda Kimmel are also on Patreon. We greatly appreciate you all supporting us on there. It keeps us sponsorship free, so we're not sitting here shilling for paid products that you guys don't really want to hear about.
Olive Garden.
Wow. I mean, if Olive Garden wants to. But no, it's never legit businesses. It's always like online only stuff. And you're kind of like, how much of this money that I'm paying for the product is for them to advertise online? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyways, thank you all for supporting us on Patreon. Greatly appreciate it. Let's move on to question of the week. Rebekah, what is the scoreboard? What does it look like? We only got 3 episodes of questions to do, including this one.
Yeah. So it's a little rough. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. You have 7.5 points.
Thank you.
And I have 3.
Would have been 8 if my Yule answer was correct like it should have been. But 7.5, whatever.
Yeah. Technically, it was a tie, though. So you said half of the people that were correct.
Okay.
So.
Well, 7.5 to 3, is that what we said?
Yeah.
Which season, Rebekah, is the first to have its winner be the oldest person on the cast?
Ooh.
Your options are A, Survivor 45, B, Survivor 43, C, Survivor Kagayan, D, Survivor Nicaragua, or E, Survivor Gabon?
Oh gosh. Okay, and this is where it's also like,
don't worry, a lot of people just instinctively answered out loud the wrong answer. I want to let those people know.
Okay.
People think they already know the answer.
It wasn't 45 because that was D.
No, the 26-year-old D.
Yeah. And if only Sammy would have won. He's only 19. So I know it wasn't that one for sure. Can you read the other options again?
I will not tell you the ages of the other winners. I already knew you knew D wasn't the oldest. Your options are A, Survivor 45, D, who's only 26 years old, who, by the way, was in the final three with two other 26-year-olds. B, Survivor 43, C, Survivor Cagayan, D, Survivor Nicaragua, or E, Survivor Gabon. The oldest person on the cast, not the oldest winner of all time necessarily.
But the oldest
just
on their season. The question
is not the oldest person on their season, correct?
My gut is Cagayan. Is that, I don't know.
Tony
I'm not
was
confident.
Not the oldest person on Cagayan.
Okay.
So that is incorrect. It is also not what a lot of people instinctively said, Survivor Gabon. Bob was not the oldest person on his season. The elephant dung lady was. Bob was the second oldest. The correct answer.
I forgot about Bob.
Is Survivor 43 Gabler.
Oh, dude, I forgot about Gabler. I forgot who won season 43.
It's funny because you joked about Sammy being 19. I was like, oh no, she'll remember.
Yeah. Listen, it's because he's the alligabler. He's just always under the radar.
That's right.
Constantly forget about him.
Right. I picked this question knowing that if you
that was a good question,
and most people who listen guess Gabon, and the people who are wrong are never going to comment that they were wrong, but the people who are right are going to be like, I knew it was Survivor 43 the moment you said it. But if it would have actually been Gabon, they would never have commented that. Right?
Yeah.
It's how it goes.
That was a good question. I liked that one.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
What's your question for me?
Okay. All right. So my question for you, there's actually 2 correct answers. So I have like 6 options for you, but 2 of them are correct.
Okay.
So the question is, which 2 seasons has everyone on that season won immunity? And that's within the season. So like, just to be clear, it's not including like if people come back for a season, it's not including their previous season at all.
Everybody on the season 1 immunity means either their tribe won immunity or they won immunity post-merge. At some point, they had immunity. They didn't have to go to tribal. Everybody on the cast at one point.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes, that is correct. Okay, so your options are Edge of Extinction, South Pacific, Winners at War, Redemption Island, Blood versus Water, and Pearl Islands.
Winners at War.
So two of those are correct.
Winners at War.
Yes,
I picked 2 seasons?
Yes,
what
2 of those seasons.
Options? Sorry.
Edge of Extinction, South Pacific, Redemption Island, Blood versus Water, and Pearl Islands.
Oh. Blood versus Water. Pearl. It's not Pearl Islands. Eliminate that one. Because one tribe lost and voted out Nicole first episode of season 7, so she never had immunity and she never came back in the game. The other option is Blood versus Water. Shoot. Rupert goes out first along with Candace, and they never re-enter the game with immunity, so it can't be Blood versus Water. And if it is, then your question's wrong. So Winners of War, we've already determined one of the answers. That was obvious. I want to say Edge of Extinction, but I feel like it's a trick question. So I'm trying to think through South Pacific. Who got voted off first? South Pacific. Now, does immunity count, meaning you won a duel?
Not the duels.
Oh, it needs to be literally immunity for tribal phase or individual immunity, but not a duel on Redemption
Island.
The
phrasing for this is a little confusing. It does not include the duels because that's not like
it's not immunity. They're out of the game.
But it includes more than just tribe and individual immunity, if that makes sense. But it's not the duels.
It includes more than. You're saying idle plays
help
count?
Clarify or make things more confusing?
Idle play? No, that makes it more confusing.
Idle plays do not count.
The fudge?
This is they won immunity.
Okay. What were my? All right, getting rid of Winners at War and getting rid of Pearl Islands. What were my other options again?
Edge of Extinction, South Pacific, Redemption Island, and Blood versus Water.
All right, my gut says Winners at War, obviously, because I know Natalie came back in the game and won immunity, so that one was pretty easy.
Yes,
but
that is
Reem
correct.
does not re-enter the game. The first person who got voted off South Pacific does not re-enter the game. First person who voted out of Redemption Island does not come back into the game. Pearl Island's first person voted out does not come back in the game. Hence my confusion. Okay, I'm going to say Edge of Extinction, Winners at War. Go ahead.
Okay. So the correct answer is actually Pearl Islands.
Nicole doesn't re-enter the game. She never had immunity. What are you talking about?
Well, so on day 19, though, the outcast tribe competes for immunity. And so technically the way that they phrase that is like they're competing against the other two remaining tribes for immunity. Okay. And this is on the Survivor Wiki.
You're right.
You can fact check me.
I'm sure you're right.
But yeah, so technically, even though I don't know if she does re-enter the game, but she does win immunity. So it is, yeah, that's what I was saying. It's like more than individual, more than tribe, but I don't know. It is, yeah.
If I go back and watch that episode, I'm sure Jeff does say the words, you were playing for immunity. So you're probably right. The absurdity of that question is exactly what people are wanting to give you, Rebekah, to give to me.
Yes. So you can be prepared for just more of that on the final episode.
All right. Good question. So. I don't like it, but good question. Yeah? I don't like it because I didn't know it, obviously. Like Teeny, I'm upset, and I think you're sexist now.
Yeah. No, that's actually, in my heart, there was a root of sexism when I put that question together. So
I know he'll overlook the woman that got voted off first on Pearl Islands.
Yes.
All right. TV ratings. Last week, Survivor had basically no competition because everything, it was the night before Thanksgiving. So there wasn't much. There was not much going on. Had the third best viewership of the season, 4.5 million. We already know Survivor's renewed through season 50 in Fiji. Will they be renewing beyond 50, and will they be in Fiji beyond 50? I'm hoping yes to renewal. I'm hoping no to Fiji. I mean, TV ratings, what else there to talk about? Because there's no Chicago trilogy to compete against. They're doing fine. They're number one in the 18 to 49 demo for unscripted shows that's not the NFL. They're doing okay. They're doing fine. So
nice.
Do you have anything? Do you want to talk about TV ratings anymore?
No, I think I'm good.
All right, let's go to the part of the podcast people skip to, but they shouldn't because we do it the whole podcast. Winner analysis.
Yeah.
Top 3 tonight. Obviously, Caroline was number 3 for Rebekah and I last week. Can't be anymore.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Can she still be in my top 3 because there are no other options?
She feels she feels better. She seems like a better option still. Like, Caroline still didn't have a zero episode confession.
Yeah. I mean, she could come back. She could come back and win immunity.
Caroline is, by the way, the jury tonight looks so salty. Caroline's going to be smiling on the jury. There ain't no way Caroline's going to look salty 100%. On the jury. All right.
Also, low key, I know we're talking about
winner analysis.
I wonder if they were coached to look salty because Kyle, I don't know.
No.
That looked a little disingenuous.
No,
to me, but anyway.
they're all telling Kyle, hey, we're not playing. We're not doing the goofy over the top faces because we know podcasts are going to criticize.
What? No, I love the over the top faces from the jury.
I think
was it Kelly and Kendra? Iconic. Like that was so much fun. I love that.
I'm actually on board with the 47 jury in this case. Be stoic. Give them nothing. Do not play it for the cameras. It is annoying and distracting. Let me watch the show. I do not need to watch you over there making goofy faces. Here's the thing. I want the jury
falling out of their chairs. I need them like just yelling and maybe throwing things. Can they throw things?
Tonight is the only night I would have accepted a big reaction from anybody. And instead, the reaction was Andy flipped again. It was a 3-2-2 vote
Andy.
that flipped on the majority alliance, and the reaction of the jury was Andy flipped again. That's it. Yeah. And I'm like, you know what? Refreshing after all the too many big reactions, in my opinion, lately. We need some variety, and this was it. So, anyways, winner analysis, Rebekah, rabbit trailing. Who
focusing? Yep.
Well, Rebekah and I actually agree on our top 3. So let's just do this. Who is our number 3, Rebekah?
Begrudgingly Genevieve.
Despite everything.
Listen, I love Genevieve. I would love to see her come back and play again. Nothing personal, but it's just, I know she's not winning because she's not in a great spot right now, and she has a zero confessional episode. And so, like, not being in a great spot with, this late in the game and having a zero confessional episode, there's just no way she's winning. But by default, like, the other option is Sue. And Sue's not winning.
I mean, Sue's sad backstory was put in the Secret Scene episode 1. We knew she wasn't winning.
Yeah. There's no way. So, anyway, anything else to say about Genevieve?
Well, okay, so Genevieve, all right, let's be real. So let's say Survivor has decided the zero confessional episode is not the end all be all. It is not the death knell. Mm-hmm. What is Genevieve's path to the end? Because I've haven't mentioned any conspiracy theories. Let's get this over with. The theme song shows a 47 logo in fire, Sam, then a woman in front of the front of the 47 logo holding the torch. It is something they filmed after the season or before the season. Either way, doesn't matter to me. They edited it after the season. They already know how it ends. So people are like, oh, that was decided. It doesn't matter when it was decided. It was decided in the edit bay. They could have done another one with a guy in front of it and decided, okay, whoever wins, this is the one we're putting in there. It doesn't really matter when they filmed it. When they edit it's what matters. And what matters is they edit when they knew who the winner was. And the winner is a woman. So it cannot be Sam or Andy. So yes, why would Sue be number 1, 2, or 3? Yeah. I don't know either. But Genevieve, her path to the end at the moment is people are ticked at Andy. Genevieve has been viewed as a threat. If Genevieve can touch final 3, I don't know how. She needs to survive 2 tribals. So can she win immunities and get to final 4?
Yeah, that's a possibility. That honestly might be her best play. And I mean, yeah, they've got a little something with her and Sam being like, oh, we're not going to play the idol tonight. I don't know that that's really enough to actually convince anybody to not vote for Genevieve. But maybe there's something there.
If Genevieve
but realistically,
Chris Underwood and get rid of Rick Devens, aka Rachel, Genevieve can win. And she was talking about it tonight. It is on the table to happen. Genevieve outs Rachel. I think Genevieve wins. That's where we're at.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's truly, I was about to say disgusting. That's not the right word. It's truly unfortunate that she has a zero professional episode for us who analyze the edit, because I really don't want to be sitting here saying that alone, but it's the truth. That alone is why I can't seriously consider Genevieve would be number 2 if it were not for the zero professional episode. Like I would still have her up high because she has a storyline all season. Sure, she was not really there for 3 episodes, but she's been there since episode 4. So as long as she hadn't been completely skunked in episode 2, I'd be like, what about Genevieve? How about Genevieve? Why about Genevieve? What about Genevieve? I think Genevieve reaches final 3 with Rachel gone. Genevieve wins. If Rachel could touch final 3 if Genevieve could touch final 3 without Rachel there, I think Genevieve wins. Because I'm assuming she made the move to get out Rachel. Because she was talking about it. Like it was set up this episode by Genevieve. It wasn't like Sam was not spearheading it in the edit the way Genevieve was, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think?
No, I agree. I think that, I don't know how she pulls that move off, because
at this point,
Rachel has an idol that no one knows about. But yeah, saying that somehow she spearheads the effort to get Rachel out, and then she and Sam and Andy are probably sitting at the final 3 unless Andy flips on them again. She easily beats both of them.
Andy can flip anytime, any day. So
yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, even Teeny and Sam at the end with Genevieve, I think Genevieve still wins. Yeah.
If Genevieve can get to final 3 at the moment, I struggle to see how. What I see is this majority alliance getting ticked at Andy, and Andy might work with them to get out Genevieve next. I don't know. Like Andy can flip on a dime. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They might work.
He will vote with anyone.
But Andy is not winning. Andy to me is a goat. If you bring him to the end, there's no respect there. I don't know if they spend waste time voting out Andy. To be frank, they might out of petty revenge. Like Teeny this might be her one move all season is petty revenge against Andy. And what actually is a dumb move on paper, because nobody's going to vote for Andy at the end. But I think you don't waste time voting out Andy. You spend time voting out Genevieve, spend time voting out Rachel. Yeah.
Also, like, who's going to vote Sue out at this point? You know what I mean? Like,
I'm surprised they spent time getting rid of Caroline, to be frank with you, but I thought through it. I'm like, yeah, I guess what's the difference between Teeny, Caroline, and Sue at this point? They're all the same.
I definitely would have targeted Teeny, but
that's only because you saw the edit.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Right. Without the edit, what's the difference in Caroline, Sue, and Teeny?
She's just yelling about how hot Sam is. Like, I don't know. That's not a vote outable offense,
Freaking high school quarterbacks walking around.
So hot. I hate him so much.
All charismatic being hot. Oh, I hate him so much.
So popular. Everyone loves him. I hate him.
I hate him so much. How dare you just walk in here and be nice? That's why her and Sue get along so well.
Yes.
They hate nice people. I hate when people are being nice to me.
I hate when people are nice and poor. Get out of here.
Stupid poor.
The 2 worst traits you can have. Nice and poor.
No, and being attractive. That was definitely part of it.
Oh, yeah, 3 traits.
Part of it was definitely Sam looks like. I know Sam does news reporting for football, but I don't think Sam actually is. I'm not saying he wasn't at one point. But Sam's like 24 years old. Like, he hasn't been a quarterback in at least 6 years. I would say he hasn't done since high school.
Yeah. I will agree with her, though. He does give, like, popular in high school vibes,
definitely.
like prom king vibes for sure.
Right. It's just we make this rant out of goofy funness, not because I actually.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Anyways, Genevieve's number 3. If Genevieve didn't have Zero Confessional episode, number 2 for me. So number 2 for us is Teeny, despite all the joking we're doing, because on paper, Teeny has everything we're looking for, except a reason to vote for her in the final 3 at the moment for me. Who Matt Chat, yes. Sob story with pictures, yes. Name highest, even though it's not as high as D's, and I think that's a factor. Yes. Also, Genevieve, by the way, has her and the bats are very closely aligned in the theme song. But that could be the same thing as Caroline getting the overhead shot. Don't overlook Caroline. There were red herrings in the theme song this season. Yes. What? No way. There were red herrings in there this season, and one of them was Caroline getting that overhead shot, make you not want to overlook her. So, anyways, what about Genevieve is number 3? Teeny's number 2. What do you like about Teeny? Who does Teeny beat in a final 3 situation at the moment?
Yeah.
Sue and Andy?
I think Teeny, especially from an editing perspective, had such a solid pre-merge. And where I'm struggling right now is that post-merge has like just big old goose egg. Like there's been nothing.
They openly dunked on her this episode. That's what this was.
Yeah.
They openly dunked on the editing on her.
And I think like the main thing is, and I mean, this is, I guess, always the case, but like, yeah, Teeny has to pull a move. I mean, if Teeny like votes Rachel out, like, and everyone knows that was a Teeny move, then that could be something. Like there could be something there, but she has to make a move at some point. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think I could see Teeny getting some votes, potentially Saul for sure. I don't know. Really, to convince the jury, you just got to have something on your resume. So yeah, she's got to like. It might be too late, honestly, at this point. But I don't know. Maybe there's something crazy when Immunity beat someone in fire. You know, beat Rachel on fire. Maybe that could be something. I don't know.
Wouldn't it be poetic justice if Teeny beat Sam in fire to teach him a lesson about being an attractive looking, charismatic guy?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it would be. Actually, it would be sexist of him to beat her in fire, I think.
It really would be. It really would be.
Yeah.
All right. So anyways, Teeny has a lot of things to look for. Do you think, unlike Genevieve, who I think sans Rachel could beat almost anybody in a final 3 at this point, I think Teeny does need a specific set of people there. I do not think Teeny beats Genevieve and Rachel. In fact, I don't think Teeny beats Sam in a final 3.
Yeah. I mean, with Sierra on the jury, I mean, she's
Sierra's
probably
a
going to
locked vote for Sam. Right.
Yeah.
If Sue reaches final 3, Caroline's a locked vote for Sue. Like, that's how I look at this.
Yes.
Teeny needs to sit next to Andy and Sue. Sure. Sue will get Caroline's vote. Who in the flip's voting for Andy?
Literally no one.
Right. I think people are more likely to vote for Teeny or Sue over Andy. So that is actually Teeny's best path to the end is to drag Andy's little goat butt to the end, bring Sue in her dirty face and be like, there's no way you can vote for this guy who has never stayed loyal to anybody, or Sue over there who doesn't know how to use makeup correctly. And Sue's like, how dare you?
Sue's like, what, this whole time? I've looked dumb this whole time and no one told me? Caroline, what?
Sue, if she did that, would remind me of the guy from, again, a movie you haven't seen because it's from pre-2000.
Yeah.
What's it? Naked Gun. Leslie Nielsen and all the Naked Gun movies. Yeah, Rebecca's like, what are you talking about?
Never seen it. I mean, I've heard of it, but I've never seen it.
Like the most obvious thing will happen to be like, what? Nobody told me this. And they'll just slap the Queen over a table. The Queen of England. Yes, I think that happened.
What? Okay.
It's definitely a weird series. It's a weird trilogy of movies, but it holds up. All right. So anyways, number 1 for us obviously is Rachel. There is not a final 3 that Rachel loses to at the moment. So Rachel's biggest issue is that people know this and they want her out. And there are currently 2 more tribals before fire making where she could go. Rachel needs to win out on immunities or win an immunity and play your idol. And that is not an unlikely situation. However, I worry that if Rachel, let's say at final 6 here, Rachel does not win immunity. Does she play her idol and risk it at 5? Or does she go, I'm going to hold my idol and risk it?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I think it depends on how the votes go next week. And, it's so tough to like trust Andy with anything at this point. But yeah, if they are looking at like a tie vote and they're looking at going to rocks, I don't know, maybe Rachel plays her idol, especially if the votes are coming to her.
People are not wasting their time voting on Andy. That's all I'm saying. It's a waste.
Yeah, if if Rachel doesn't win immunity next week, then she knows that votes are coming her way. And if that's what they're hoping to like do the tie vote and then she plays her idol, like that would be a way to get out of that situation and not have to go to rocks, and also not get voted out. So I don't know. I think she might, but yeah, you're right. Like, yeah, she just needs to win an immunity in there somewhere, which is not impossible, but a tough thing to do under pressure.
If Rachel wins Final Six immunity, she's walking into fire making, obviously, with her idol. So Rachel just needs one immunity win, ideally at Final Six for her. Then she gets to fire making. Can Rachel make a fire? Will she even be put into fire? Who knows? I just think Andy has to be a lock for Final Three because, like, who is wasting their time? I know people are going to be emotional next episode. Great. By the way, fantastic for TV. Do not waste your time voting at Andy. It is a waste of time. Do not do it. Vote out actual threats. But I don't know. Am I going to sit here and be like Sue and Teeny are to make the most rational decision?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Watch Rachel get voted out immediately next week.
Sue and Teeny.
Like, that'd be crazy.
I can guarantee you Sue and Teeny are not going to think rationally. They're going to vote with Rachel to out Sam, Genevieve, or Andy. And it's like.
But okay, do you think Sue is going to go to rocks?
I don't know. Sue's going to go to rocks. I think Sue would go to rocks. That's what I said. I think the only person who would be unwilling to go to rocks would be Andy. So therefore, Andy will flip on his. I could see a
world in which Sue flips, but I think she's less likely to flip than Andy for sure.
I think Andy. The first sign of Andy flips. There's no rock draw. Andy's flipping. I mean,
Jeff reads the first vote. He's like, guys, I changed my mind.
Wait. Jeff reads the tie vote. Jeff goes, if you guys don't decide. If we're going to vote again, if it's in our tie, we're drawing rocks. And he's like, no, don't worry. I flipped just do the votes again. I'll tell you who I want to vote for now. We don't even need to go up there, Jeff. I flipped.
Let me save you some steps.
Jeff. Anyways, I don't want to walk back up there, Jeff. I don't want to, I'll just tell you. Okay. Jeff's like, oh, okay. Yeah, go ahead. All right. So number one, Rachel, I don't see a situation which Rachel loses in a Final Three. And her path to the end at the moment with a block vote and an idol is pretty good.
Oh, yeah. I keep forgetting about the block vote. That's so great that she has that. She can use that till 5?
Yeah, I love random advantages. Me too. I agree with you.
No, I'm just saying, like, in terms of her path to the end, like.
Oh, yes. Great for her.
She's got this on lock. That's great.
Dumb for TV, but great for her. Yes.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Wonderful. Yeah. So at the moment, let's say that there was no hint in the intro indicating that a woman's going to win. I would rank, it would go Rachel, Sam, Genevieve. That's so hard to say because I just don't see how Sue's winning and I don't see how Andy's winning. Yeah. And at least Sam hasn't been skunked, right? So let's say there was no indication of a woman winning in the theme song. Sam would probably be number 2, followed by Genevieve. But let's say that the Zero Confessional episode thing was not a factor. Genevieve, I think, would still be number 2 above Sam. There's a bigger target on Genevieve's back, and I think there's a reason people want Genevieve out over Sam. And if Genevieve can just get to 3, I think Genevieve wins, as long as she's not sitting next to Rachel at the moment.
See, I think if it didn't have to be a woman, I think it would be, for me, Rachel number 1, Sam number 2, and then Teeny number 3 because of the Zero Confessional episode. Yeah. Obviously, that changes if that's not a factor.
Right.
But I think Teeny would still be number 3 for me because of that.
That's what I'm saying. Without these conspiracy theories and intro hints and everything else that
if there's no conspiracy theories, that's a different conversation.
Right. If there's nothing that the editors did. Remember when Jeff said there's no such thing as a winner's edit? Like
I can't believe he said that. That's unhinged.
We've been here podcasting 9 seasons now, going 10 seasons next season, talking about all the winner. That's all we do.
Yeah. And we've been right every single time. Remember, every episode,
except for Gabler.
Every episode, we're able to perfectly predict who's going to win the season. We've never been wrong.
Yeah, that's correct.
Nobody fact checked that.
That's true. Early in season when I said Sierra, what I meant to say was Rachel.
Yeah. I think you just misspoke. There was like a little bit of an echo or something. Correct. And it just,
It's probably AI. They deep faked me to say Sierra instead of Rachel.
Oh, deep fake. Yes. Why are we not blaming everything on being deep faked?
But for real, the track record of this podcast outside of Gabler, like, we usually have the winner, and I mean, if it ain't Rachel, I'd be shocked at the moment. It has to be.
Yeah, same.
I think everyone and their mother knows it's Rachel. Even my dad, who's rooting for Kyle, has to know it's Rachel at this point, right? Yeah. I don't know. I could call him and ask him, be like, hey, who do you think's winning at the moment? Watch him be like, Probably Sue. And I'm like, okay.
Like, all right.
Okay. All right, let's move on to your all's questions every week on YouTube. I always ask for your all's questions. And this week, I'm sure we got some good ones. Okay, so first one from Brody Smith. Do you think Andy will flip again, or do you think he's found a 3 to be loyal to? What do you think, Rebekah?
I think Andy's going to flip until the game's over.
Here's what YouTube auto-responded with. Andy has been in a tough spot and could easily get himself back in one, but the editing has been so strong that they're putting him in the best light they can. That's
so funny.
That's YouTube's auto response to that question. I mean, it's vague enough that it sounds correct.
Yeah. I feel like, I don't know. Yeah, Andy, I think he's just going to keep flipping. Like, even once the game is over, once, like, say Andy's on the jury and he votes for someone and then they read all the votes, and during the reunion show, he's like, actually, Jeff, can I change my vote? Can I flip on the person I voted to win? Like, I think he's just constantly flipping. That's my opinion.
Flipping every second of the day.
Yeah.
Next question is from Ambi. Says, wait, I can't believe I don't see anybody mentioning this. Wesley, Andy said you're lying. Teeny, teeny, teeny. I gasped. Now, YouTube's auto response to this is, I saw the same. Andy's line was so obvious. Is YouTube, what are they talking about?
Yeah. Oh, man.
Anyways, I think Rebekah and I both saw that. I mean, even Mary, who.
Yeah, that was great. I love that.
I'm not saying even Mary in a bad way. I'm saying even Mary like gave me a look of like, I can't believe.
Yeah. If you ever if you're making a video that involves Teeny for any reason, you have to use that clip.
Right. Well, every season, I don't know if people know, every season since at least Gabler, I do a winners video, all the new era winners. So like Kenzie's has all of our running jokes in Kenzie's videos. Dee's has all of her running jokes, especially Katura Hates Bruce, in her video, even though it has no relation. Jam Jams has whatever the running jokes were. Oh, Claire was sitting out of every challenge. I edited Claire into every challenge the rest of the season to make it look like she sat out in Jam Jam's winner video.
That's so funny.
Gabler's, I talked about Sammy being 19 so many times. Dee's was Katura Hates Bruce. Kenzie's was Big Mistake, of course. Liz and her Fat Sacks Cash. So yes, every winner video I've made since at least 43, I've been including our running gags into. So this season, at the moment, we'll see who wins. I don't know if Teeny will make it in there. It's not really running gag. What about Genevieve? Definitely will. Rome, if you want to. Just depends though, because if Rachel's the winner, how much Rome is really going to be in the video? Probably enough for me to slip it in there once.
Yeah, I mean, at least once.
He is. I guess she does it. She is at the vote that he goes out on. So, all right. Next question is from Airborne Melody. Why was Teeny given such a good edit? Potentially even a winner's edit, only for it to crash and burn.
Yeah. I mean, we kind of talked about this earlier, but I think that it was a red herring to some extent. I mean, we'll see. Maybe the finale is just crazy and like Teeny pulls some crazy moves and ends up winning the whole thing. But like, I really think it was kind of a red herring early on, which I personally really appreciate because it was a good red herring. So.
Yeah, I think Teeny's being built up. I told Mary, I'm like, man, it kind of feels like I wish they had built up Genevieve because it doesn't feel like the Teeny thing's going to pay off. Unless Teeny wins, it doesn't feel like there's a payoff here. Like at the moment,
do you think
we're 12 out of 14 episodes. I'm like, where's the payoff for all that build up of Teeny?
Yeah.
I wish they built up Genevieve.
It is almost like what you were saying earlier with Andy, where it's like maybe they want to bring him back. I don't know if it's the same thing for Teeny, if they just like want to bring her back for season 50 or something.
But why? Teeny hasn't done anything.
Yeah.
Right?
I don't know.
Right? Like Teeny has given us nothing in terms of like game moves. Nothing. The only people, I mean, I'm not even saying Genevieve should be brought back. I'm just saying, think about the story of the season, everything we built up to at this moment. Genevieve's the one from Red who should have been built up. Besides Rome, obviously. Rome could not have been ignored the way he was playing and acting.
No.
It was impossible. But I'm saying if we had to pick somebody else from Red, it feels like it should have been Genevieve. And then the flip switch that happens in episode 4 for her would have been even more epic because, sure, it was epic, but it could have been more epic because we built her up and like, oh, here's a payoff. We now have a consistent story with Genevieve all seasons. Like, I feel like we kind of got screwed on the Genevieve story. Like, Genevieve is really should have gotten the focus Teeny got, in my opinion, based on what we've seen. And we're at this point, I'm like, Genevieve's the real threat, not Teeny. So why did Teeny get all the build up instead of Genevieve? That's how I feel about Red. I
almost wonder, okay, like we'll see, but I almost wonder if like, because Genevieve and Teeny, they've had this whole thing this season where it's like Genevieve is playing very like, no emotions, no personal connections, just strategy. Teeny has been kind of the opposite of that. They've been kind of this like the antithesis of each other, even though they've been like working together at times. So I don't know, maybe there's going to be something with that pays off at the end where it's like, maybe Genevieve is, in the final 3 and then Teenie is the one person who doesn't vote for her.
Oh.
Or Teenie beats Genevieve, one of the two. Yeah, either one. Like something like that could happen and then that would justify everything. But I don't know, as it stands right now, I think it's more of a red herring. But
don't get me wrong, we haven't watched the 2-part marketing finale yet. But I am a little bit concernicus that Teenie has been built up for nothing just to be like, go to final 3 and be a GOAT. When it's like, okay, even if Genevieve doesn't reach final 3, I feel like the story would have been better served building up Genevieve. Like, Teenie should have gotten the amount of focus Genevieve got, and Genevieve should have gotten the amount of focus that Teenie got. That's what I'm saying. saying. They should have swapped the amount of airtime they each got and the consistency over to Genevieve. I don't care if Genevieve goes next week. Genevieve makes final 3, goes next week, doesn't matter to me. Genevieve definitely had the better story to tell over the course of the season in the show of Survivor. And Teenie, it felt like, I'm like, unless Teenie has a crazy final 2 episodes, which is possible.
Yeah. I would love that. That would be crazy.
Right. If Teenie all of a sudden explodes and has like, pulls a Chris Underwood and has like an amazing finale, then okay. All right. I eat my words. But this is like the only thing the editors this season, I'm like, but why? Why? But why about Genevieve? But why? Why about Genevieve?
Yeah.
So anyways. All right. Next question is from Quaker Devil. Who do you think in the minds of the players is actually the biggest threat right now? Their options that they give us are Sam, Genevieve, Rachel, and Andy. I guess we're not considering Sue or Teenie. I think I agree with that. It's not something. At the moment, I feel like it's between Rachel and Genevieve. That's
by players, do you mean like people still in the game?
That's what he said,
I'm assuming not the jury. Yeah. Yeah, I think definitely Rachel.
No, it doesn't say people still in the game. It could be it doesn't clarify.
I'm wondering if they mean the jury or not. But yeah, I think either way, definitely Rachel and probably Genevieve too. Yeah, that's what I think. Is that what you said, Wesley?
I think it's gotta be Genevieve or Rachel. Whether it's the jury or people in the game, I think the biggest hearts have to be Genevieve or Rachel, just in general. That's why I said I feel like the focus we've given to Teenie, I don't care when Genevieve goes at this point, should have been on Genevieve. And that's the only time I will really like question the editors on this season. I'm like, I don't. But again, Teenie still has 2 episodes to prove me wrong. But I feel like we've been saying the all season, like, all right, we're building up Teenie. When's it gonna happen? Okay, we're building a Teenie. When's it going to happen?
Here we go.
Okay,
and then it never
here
happens.
we go.
Yeah.
All that focus they gave her is going to pay off. What? All right. Next question is from Rams. Yeah. Okay. Rames. I wasn't sure how to say that. I think it's just Rams.
Yes.
Why couldn't they have voted out Teenie instead? Because Teenie's not a threat. I mean.
Yeah.
Basically.
Not that Caroline was really a threat, but I do think. I don't know. Yeah, if you're thinking through like, okay, who might have an idol and then also who might someone else play an idol for, Teenie I feel like is higher on that list than Caroline.
Yeah.
But who knows? Sue has an idol, so I don't know. Yeah.
Here we are, 2 hours into the podcast. And if it's shorter than that, I edited things out. Justin asks a question I think we should have talked about earlier, but here it is. Justin says, do you guys think that Teenie is repeating the past mistake that Cassidy made in Survivor 43 of talking to someone like Genevieve, who is likely to be on the jury, and ignoring their advice of, you need to do this thing to get my vote? So in this case, it's get rid of Rachel because I'm voting Rachel. Personally, they think Teenie made a huge mistake by doing this. And I agree. If Teenie makes final 3 and Genevieve doesn't vote for Teenie, which I believe at the moment, if Rachel's in final 3, I believe Genevieve when she said that. I don't think Genevieve's just saying things. Genevieve's saying Rachel, I'm voting Rachel. She goes to the final 3. Teenie's like, it does in a way remind me of Cassidy in 43, who people still defend, by the way. And it's like, I understand, like you can agree with Cassidy's point of view. However, when the jury tells you that they are going to do X and you ignore it, it doesn't matter if what they're saying is rational. That is a factor you have to take into play. Your social game has led you to this point where Jesse says, if you do not give me a chance at fire, or if you do not face me in fire, I will not vote for you. Well, guess what you gotta do? Unless you think you got this jury clean sweep with the exception of Jesse, which you don't, then you need to beat Jesse in fire. That is what Jesse feels like you need to do to earn his vote. Cassie goes, screw that. I want immunity. Okay. I mean, I understand your point of view, but if you're looking for Jesse's vote, you gotta do it. And Carla just basically said, you can't put me on the jury. Carla's is a bit harder because it's like, okay, I put you on the jury. You don't vote for me. I keep you off the jury. who am I putting on the jury to vote for me? I guess,
yeah, exactly.
Like I'm not saying Carlos is cut and dry. I'm not saying the jury is always right in terms of why they vote for somebody. I think the jury's always right in who wins, sure, but why they vote. Like, Maria voted for Kenzie.
Yeah.
Let's get real. Come on, guys.
Well, and also I think
her reasons why she told us. Get real.
Yeah. I think also with this specific moment with Teeny and Genevieve, some of it was less to do with maybe what like Teeny said, and it was more about how she reacted in that moment. Because I do think there's a world in which, Teeny and Genevieve are sitting on the beach talking, and Genevieve is like, listen, Rachel, if I'm on the jury, I'm going to vote for her. And Teeny's like, okay, that's interesting. Like, I'm going to consider that. I'm hearing you. I understand that, like, okay, Rachel's playing this game. Here's the reason why I can't vote for her right now, but I, like, acknowledge that, and I would like to work with you to get Rachel out, or whatever it is. Like, there's I think that Teeny's reaction of being so offended and so, like, oh, like you saying that the jury wouldn't be a clean sweep for me. That's a threat. You're threatening me. Yeah. Like that type of reaction is definitely going to be like a thing that turns Genevieve away from voting for her if she's in a position to do so.
What Genevieve is saying is at the current moment, if the game ends today and I'm on the jury, I am not voting for you. Now, that does not mean that nothing can change between now and the end of the game. It does not mean that Genevieve has to go on the jury. It just means if Genevieve's on the jury and the game ends today, she's voting Rachel. That's what that means. So you have a few options here. One, you get rid of Rachel, which is obviously what Genevieve wants. Two, you do something to convince Genevieve that you are superior to Rachel if you're going to, for some reason, keep Rachel in the game. I don't know what that is, to be frank with you, but these are your options. Or B, you keep Genevieve in the game and put somebody else on the jury and hope that they're going to vote for you instead of Genevieve. You got like 3 options. Yeah. None of the options are get mad at Genevieve, because that does not
storm off the beach.
It doesn't solve the problem, which is you want the votes to win. And don't get me wrong, it is day 21. You are starving. You're on Survivor. There are cameras. You have had like no alone time to speak of where you don't feel like you're being watched by somebody or something. I cannot fully relate, but it is the wrong move.
Yes.
So like I can empathize, but at the same time, math is math. This is math. This is math. It's not math, but it sure feels like it. All right, last question from Todrick. What are the chances Andy flips again next round? Like 100%.
Like, 95% at least.
99.999%. Andy.
Especially if there's a tie vote, like he's flipping.
Andy would probably flip on himself if it was an option. And in some ways he has.
Oh, that's funny.
In some ways he has. In episode 1, I felt like he was kind of just flipping on himself.
That's so funny.
Episode 1, he's like, they're going to vote me out. Andy, are you flipping on yourself? Are you trying to tank your own game?
It's like, no, I'm flipping on my best friend in this game.
Myself. Okay, Andy. Anyways, if this podcast...
Do you need us here for this? Or like, he's just casting votes on the beach. Everyone else is like, we're going to go if that's okay.
If this podcast was an improvement over last week's, please give us a like. I appreciate it.
Yes.
I gotta say, Rebekah, despite all the complaining, our podcast was like the likes weren't that much different than normal. The like to dislike ratio was
I was gonna say, like,
this
is a little dangerous. Like, are you saying that if this podcast is worse than the last week, you want people to downvote?
I would like you to like our podcast no matter what, ideally. I'm just saying, like, I was like, man, there's a lot of complaining in the comments, but like the like to dislike ratio was about the same. About the same as usual.
Yeah. Well, what's the stat? People are more likely to leave comments or reviews if they're upset about something.
That's correct. Yeah. I think the like is just an easy thing. Like, I like this. I like the podcast.
Yeah.
And that's how I interact with videos. I just like them, or I subscribe to the channel. I don't like ever. You'll never see once commenting on. If you do see me comment somewhere, it is a rarity. It is a rarity. Like,
all right, everyone. That's the mission now. Is just go through the archives of YouTube.com and try and find all these like any random comments.
Once upon an island comments. Yeah, not super often.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
from years ago.
This is the end of the podcast. I got to go edit this thing, Rebekah. It's getting late. Tomorrow I'll be on with Carson, potentially Carolyn, I believe. Let's Get Tribal. I'll also be doing winter analysis with Mary. And yeah, we'll be back next week. Next week, we have a triple banger for you. We have our regular podcast on Wednesday. We have we're recording 2 podcasts on Thursday. One will be winter analysis, of course, leading into the actual finale. And Rebekah, Mary, and I will all be getting together for one time this season, finally, to rank the new era seasons, all 7 of them. We've been doing this since 45, I believe. So we actually have more seasons to talk about now, of course. But yes, we'll be doing a podcast ranking all New Era seasons. That'll be next week. And then, of course, for the finale, we have our finale podcast. So yeah, we got, after this one, 4 podcasts remaining. And then The Traders with Tony Vlachos, Boston Rob, Jeremy Collins, and Carolyn will be on. We'll be in January 9th it starts, and we will be podcasting that whole series.
I'm so excited for the season. It's going to be so fun.
Yes. I am very much looking forward to it too, especially since they filmed it like back in April. And I thought it was going to come out sooner, and it didn't. I'm like, oh man, okay.
Yeah. They just had to calm down all of Tony's chaos in the edit. They're like, wait, we need more time to put this together.
I mean, it's on Peacock, so they don't have a strict runtime limit, I think. They could include as much Tony as they want. As long as he doesn't go, as long as he's in the game, you know?
If the episodes get shorter, like later, it's because Tony goes.
Anyways, well, that's it for this week's podcast. We'll see you all next time. Bye.
Bye.